Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto saves Ember in RWBY. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by NeonZangetsu and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Wolf in sheep's clothing. Most of us don't want to die. When faced with death's cold embrace, we sacrifice and scream and struggle and cry. We beg and bargain and deny. Naruto Uzumaki hadn't expected to perish in the first place, and thus did none of these things. If anything, his demise came as quite the surprise. He'd been indulging in a large bowl of ramen some days after a hard-fought battle with one Sasuke Uchiha when death came for him. It was sharp and sudden. He keenly recalled the salty taste on his tongue, just as he remembered wrestling with both the chopsticks and the bowl alike, grumbling at how annoying it was to rely on one arm until a new one could be grown another from Hashirama's cells. There was nothing particularly odd about the occasion, nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever. It was a simple meal, all things considered, until he found himself floating in a staring floating, really in an endless white void. What the actual hell? He deadpanned, raising a lone arm before his face in mild consternation. I call bullshit. Those words were spoken in irritation if nothing else, left to echo endlessly into the abyss. There was no weight to them, nor bitterness. Quite so. Instead, an unfamiliar yet soothing voice answered him almost immediately. You choked to death on your lunch. A most inglorious and unexpected end to your life. Naruto didn't expect a response, and thus he turned to face the voice, as any sane individual might. Now, he'd seen his fair share of false gods in his day, Obito, Madara, and Kagaya, to name a few. Many shinobi claimed to be something they weren't. It came with the territory, and by now, he was used to dealing with individuals who wielded supernatural abilities. But this one fit the bill. Wreathed in golden light, this absolute giant only appeared humanoid in the vaguest sense of the word. The crown of antlers on his bald head reminded the expired shinobi of a deer. Even then his faceless visage lent him no hint of emotion. Judging by his broad chest and features, he might have been a male. Who could say? He certainly didn't expect the big bastard to make him an offer. I would make amends for this. Giant, say what now? Naruto managed less than eloquently. That horn head tilted as the giant clasped two arms behind his back. I am offering to resurrect you. A pause. To return you to your body. A wiser man would have kept his mouth shut and accepted the offer for what it was. Naruto didn't, and for the life of him, he didn't know why. Perhaps he was still able to sense negative emotions, even in death. Perhaps he was simply feeling cranky over his untimely demise. Maybe something just smelled fishy about this. Regardless, he asked the question he shouldn't have. Why? The god looked away. I may have lost a bet. Naruto's jaw clicked open with a pop. Excuse me? He choked the words out. For some reason, the golden god felt the need to expound upon what he'd said. I placed a wager with my brother, one that you would live for quite some time yet. It turned to glance at him, and something akin to a chill shot down his spine. You were not due to expire for another 50 years. I had not expected you to perish in such an unseemly fashion as this. It unclasped its arms and folded both before its broad chest as it edged 1 foot forward. I am prepared to restore you to life so long as you don't speak of this incident to my younger brother. A faint, almost whimsical note entered its voice. The god of darkness has a tendency to react poorly when displeased, so I'm guessing you must be the god of light then. Its head bobbed. You would be correct in that assumption. When it offered him its hand, Naruto almost accepted its offer in good faith. Almost. Wait. Still, something nagged at the blonde and he pulled his hand back. Why bet on me at all? He asked. Not that I'm flattered and all, just why? My brother and I have been lacking in entertainment since we departed our world eons ago. As he looked on, a small blue sphere began to dance before the deity's outstretched palm, swirling like tiny marbles alongside many others. When we first found yours, we elected to observe your kind rather than intervene. Placing wagers on you lot became a way of passing time. I have won every outcome thus far. Left unsaid was the silent implications of what they could have done, had they chosen to interfere. It sailed right over Naruto's head like a rock. Speaking of which, the blonde wrinkled his nose. Just what kind of bet are we talking about here? The winner of this wager would choose the next world we were to create. Came the reply. Naruto tumbled backward. That sounds like a pretty big deal, you know. It is. The god of light agreed. All the more reason that I triumph. An epiphany struck the Jinchuriki like the dawn. Wait a minute. If I die, doesn't that mean you lost the bet? Was that laughter in the distance? The god of light twitched at the sound. I did not lose. I am returning you to life. Therefore the wager continues. You're a bit of a sore loser, ain't ya? The blonde prodded. I do not lose, but you kinda did this time, Naruto reasoned, raising a finger, utterly unaware of the proverbial landmine he just trod upon. Look buddy, I get it. He nodded. You lost a bet. You don't want to pay up. I've lost more than my fair share of card games to keep in my day. His slim shoulders rose and fell as he laughed. I didn't like it, but I paid up. He smiled. Why else would you resurrect a mook like me? Plot? Nah. You just don't want to lose to your baby brother. I think that's awfully human of you, you know? What's wrong with letting him win? The distant laughter intensified and drew closer, causing the god of light to growl. He has not won. Oh, but I have. Came a deep booming cackle. Take that, brother of mine. A rush of hot air blasted Naruto's soul from its non-existent feet and sent him spinning into the nothingness with a startled yelp. The god of light made no move to aid him. Hysterical terror gripped him, and he feared he'd keep doing just that, spiral away into limbo without any means to recover in time. He was just a soul now, after all. He had no means of stopping himself, much less a way to control his momentum. His limbs pinwheeled wildly in the void, to no avail. No, bad soul. Stop. Reverse course. Stop. Giant purple fingers wrapped around the blonde's sullen soul and pulled him back from the brink with the meanest of ease. Victory! The new voice roared the word in a single glorious gasp, momentarily deafening the blonde. For the first time in millennia. And I have you to thank for it. When he recovered, he found himself face to face with another god. By comparison to the towering god of light, this newcomer stood at least a head shorter, though it proved itself no less imposing. Dyed in the deepest of dark purple, a visage devoid of any expression stared back at him, somehow managing to radiate childish glee despite its lack of facial features. Segmented horns curved back over its cranium, seeming to drain the very light from the afterlife itself. And yet for all that, he found himself oddly reminded once more of a young child given its first toy. It was almost endearing. God of darkness? Probably. He looked the part. You have my thanks, mortal. It sketched him a low bow and released him. My boon to you. No. The god of light interjected with his. You can't. None of that. No boons. We've done that before. It never ends well, can. Did. The young brother snapped its fingers with a resounding click in spite of his brother's words. Already done. No take-backs. Brother, la 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 la. I can't hear you. Naruto didn't so much jump as he did shudder when a faint violet miasma leaped from the smaller god to strike his soul. A god's boon? Was that a good thing? Bad thing? Good luck? Bad luck? He didn't feel any different. Sure enough, the faint radiance faded, leaving him much as he was before, with only the faintest of confusion. The god of darkness had clearly done something, though he knew not what. It was the not knowing that drove poor Naruto up a wall, and had him frantically looking over himself like a madman. I'm not going to sprout a third arm or something, am I? He asked. What did you do? The god of darkness chuckled. I gave you my boon. Yes, I can see that. A blue eye twitched. What the hell does it do? You'll see. In time. And didn't that mean bugger all? Are all gods this mysterious? He groused. Not all, the smaller god shrugged. Just some of us. Are you happy with yourself, brother? Happy, you say? No. The god of darkness shot back as he drifted closer to his irate sibling, leaving Naruto trapped between them. I'm not happy. I am fucking ecstatic. Two burning fingers rose and jabbed the god of light hard in the chest. Tell me, how does it feel to lose, brother? Not very good, I imagine. I know. Go, then. The words were a growl. Play with your new world as you please, and let you kill my new minion while I'm away? The younger brother scoffed. My first true believer? I think not. Minion? Naruto squawked incredulously at the claim. Now wait just a minute. I did not consent to this. I won't kill him. Came the sullen reply over his cries. On that you have my word. Your word. Ha! A dark hand swept the air between them and the world trembled before its wrath. Your word clearly means nothing to you. There are things worse than death, brother. You could turn him into a rock. Leave him here, trapped in the afterlife. No, I will not trust your word. I demand something more. What do you propose? The god of darkness preened smugly. A pact between us, he declared, preening as the older god visibly wilted. That, at least, will prevent any treachery on your part. You would destroy us both? Not if you keep your word this time, brother. Naruto raised a tentative hand. Hey, can I just get a word in here? No/denied. They shouted him down with the fury of 1,000 storms. A moment of awful silence passed between the two deities as they gazed upon one another, sharing some silent conversation Naruto couldn't hear. Then another. Another still. A minute passed. 2. 3. Naruto waited impatiently, crossing his spectral legs beneath him. An hour dragged itself by, and still no result. All at once, they shook hands. Excellent. The god of light spoke first. We have an accord. The god of darkness didn't need a face to sneer. For now, brother. But I will be watching. And as for you, Naruto stiffened as that expressionless gaze found his. Bring forth chaos in my name. That is all. In a swirl of dark light, it left the two of them alone. Even from here, Naruto couldn't see the god of light's expression, but he had the distinct expression that the celestial being was suddenly cross with him. Why? He hadn't lied. Did he say something wrong? There wasn't anything wrong with telling the truth, surely. A moment of awful silence followed. So about that resurrection. With a stiff, angry movement, the god turned to face him. Naruto backed away. Now wait a second. Let's not do anything we'll regret. Just resurrect me and let me be on my way. Bygones be bygones, you know? The celestial being drifted closer. I don't think so. I mean it. Don't make me fight you. You are but a soul now. You have no power here. Was that a sneer in its voice or a laugh just now? He wasn't sure. He wanted to find out. My brother and I have come to an agreement. I have just the body for you. Its mind has long since departed, but their physical shell yet remains. The spirit is willing, but the flesh weak. Perhaps you can use their form to effect some small change on the world we left behind. You will be hunted and cursed, hounded for your very life. Use their memories and abilities. Try to survive. Or die. I don't much care. Don't you dare. Don't even think about it. Naruto's measured retreat had become a full rout by now. Just give me back my original body. I don't want a new one. No more adventures, please. Worry not for your friends, young warrior. I have the matter well in hand. Listen to me. You horny little shit. Still, the god of light ignored him. And finally, you are forbidden to reveal your true identity to anyone. It wouldn't do for anyone to know of you. That might endanger your mission. What mission? The blonde flung up his spectral hand. You didn't give me one. You just want to get back at me for losing. I know not what you mean. Naruto felt something tighten in his chest, but took a swipe at the god of light anyway. Just send me home already, blast it. Why am I being punished for this? Because I dislike you. The horned one brushed him aside as one might an angry toddler. You have 5 seconds, by the way. Do mind the drop. Naruto blinked. What do you mean mind the dra? Before the whiskered warrior could think to shout at the big bastard, his word fell away. So did he. Quite literally at that. Gravity, content to let him be until this very moment, suddenly sank its claws into him. Everything shrank to a single pinprick of light as he tumbled away from the self-proclaimed god, leaving him to recede into the distance. In his final moments of consciousness, he railed at him. You son of a bitch, and he opened his eyes. Reality snapped back with a god-awful lurch, leaving his stomach roiling as his forehead jerked upright to collide with something flat and large and solid, so much so that he bounced right off. Blunt force trauma nearly finished what the god of light started. Okay. Headbutting metal? Very bad idea. Pain flared in a startling sunburst behind his eyes and he groaned, rolling over. Rather, he tried. He couldn't manage that in the confined space. Even raising his arms proved something of a miracle, and those were preoccupied at the moment. Ow! He whined, clutching at his skull as his legs flailed. That hurt. What the hell? Where am I? The voice that emerged wasn't his own. He knew what his words sounded like by now, and the angry curses that tumbled from his lips were anything but. These weren't his words. Their pitch was all wrong. Softer than what he was used to. Scratchy, as though it hadn't spoken in years. Almost feminine by comparison, as if it belonged to a. Naruto felt his blood to turn ice in its veins. No, the word was a hiss. You didn't. You did not. Against his better judgment, he tentatively looked down at himself. Herself. A trembling finger rose to his chest and gave one of the twin globes there an awkward poke. Ouch. Why the hell do I have tits? He did indeed. Tan skin greeted him, followed by a firm young body clad in a white tube top and a white skirt. Not the sort you'd expect to find on a comatose patient. With each passing second, his temper rose, and his voice with it. His skin definitely wasn't that dark, nor was his hair brown. That put any last desperate hope of his to bed. This wasn't his body. This was the form of a young woman, and oh, no. Was this what the god of light had been prattling on about? Why was everything shaking? He'd woken to find himself trapped in a pod of some sort. Belatedly, he realized something else. No! That rat bastard! His new voice jumped an octave in a shriek as he looked lower still. It's gone! I'll kill him! Had his soul been forced to possess someone? Was this a corpse? No. It felt alive. Weak, but alive. But for how long? He was so tired. Why was he tired? His hand shot up and pressed against the cool glass surface, to no avail. He could barely see through the damn thing. With a snarl he rammed his fist against it. Once. Twice. Thrice. Let me out! Once again, someone answered him. Thankfully this time, it wasn't a god. Headmaster! A young woman's muffled voice cried through the glass. I think she's moving. Nonsense. Came a man's reply. You're probably just imagining things. Into the pod you go, Pira, Naruto hissed, a pit of dread opening in his stomach. He had a bad feeling about this. Don't ignore me, damn it! Countless memories mingled with his own when he tried to strike again, innumerable images and emotions assailing him, twisting and twining through his thoughts like old roots. He squeezed his eyes shut and tried to hold them back, to no avail. They eeled through his grasp and tangled in his mind. No. Stop. He didn't want to look at those. Didn't want to see. They were too personal. Hers. Not his. He saw a little girl sniffle as someone bandaged her scabbed knee. Felt the staff in his hands, fire burning in his palms. Heard the voice of an old woman. This is your burden to bear, my dear. Stop, damn it! He grit his teeth. I don't want to see this, but much like the meddling gods that had trapped him here, the memories didn't care. They came on stronger now, dying embers of a life he hadn't lived blazing to life before burning down to cinders. He found himself forced to experience each one. Every moment, every second. Not just the girl's memories, but her very sense of self. Her life. She'd had friends. Family. All of them were gone now. Taken from her. He saw a woman with dark hair and golden eyes stretch a gloved hand towards her, then blackness. She'd been so afraid before the end. So afraid, then came a name. Her name. Amber. Something in this body had died a long time ago. He could feel the intrinsic knowledge rise when he reached for it. Her mind slowly whittled away by time, years of slumber, and whatever horrors the woman had inflicted on her. Tentatively, he sent out a feeler and poked at what he thought might have been the poor girl's psyche. There was no response whatsoever. Her body was willing, if weakened, but her mind gone. Not even a twitch. What kind of sick joke was this, thrown into the body of a comatose girl, someone who was all but a vegetable, and left to fend for himself? This wasn't just foul by any measure of the word. This was cruel. That settled it. The god of light was. Something told him the god of darkness wasn't much better. Yet beneath all his irritation, beneath all that pain and misery, Naruto felt something else. Power. When he renewed his struggles, a heady sensation not unlike warm broth flooded his veins, bringing with it an almost pleasant euphoria. It wasn't chakra. Couldn't be, but it was similar. Enough to wake her body up and reignite the pain blazing in her his head like a wildfire tsunami. He held on to it, even as something tried to suck it out of him. No, he held on, clinging to his second chance at life even as this strange machine tried to all but suck it out of him. It made him angry, and in turn the anger gave him strength until he looked up, and saw a shadow. For a fleeting second his vision cleared, and through his burning eyes he saw someone. A lone figure stood on the other side of the room, a woman's hazy form in red and gold. She knocked an arrow to her bow. Naruto didn't think. Didn't breathe. Just reacted. Power coursed though his hand, lending strength to these slim limbs that weren't his own. This time, when that glowing fist shot out and collided with the glass, something yielded. Rather than shatter, the entire pain shot forward like a bullet, one that collided with the archer about to take his life. Her pained grunt was the most satisfying sound he'd heard since waking up. The sight of her crashing into the elevator from the impact? Slightly more so. Wait, what was an elevator? How did he know about that? Another memory buzzed at him, and he pushed it away with a growl. It was all too much to take in. Even as he climbed free of the pod, even as the glass crunched harmlessly, why wasn't there pain? Under his bare feet, even as he found his footing, he didn't know what was going on. No. Wait. Part of him did. He knew where he was, just as he knew the old man gaping at him like a codfish. A name came to him immediately, dredged up from a blackened corner of the girl's mind. Ozpin. I don't believe it. The man looked as though he'd seen a ghost. Amber? Are you alive? How? Naruto tried to say otherwise. He really, truly did. He tried to explain that this was some horrible mistake, that Amber was gone, but something tied his tongue before he could speak the words. Only an angry croak emerged when he tried to utter the truth once more. Oh, so that whole forbidden to reveal yourself bit was an actual curse after all. When tried to actually speak his name, a blazing headache gripped his temples and rattled his world anew. All the while his mouth remained dead and still. Damn it, this was why you didn't piss off a god. Kaguya? Who the hell was Kaguya? She didn't hold a candle to this level of bullshit. Ripping his soul out of the afterlife and shoving it into another body a world away? She couldn't do that. At least, he hoped she couldn't. Two of them were bad enough. He didn't relish the thought of a third being able to juggle souls. In the end, all he could manage was a weak-sounding, I don't know. Remarkably, that was enough to mollify the man's curiosity. Before he could think to interrogate him, the cane-wielding warrior darted back to the pods, the intact one, and hastily extricated a woman from it. Naruto had just enough time to take in red hair and startling green eyes before his senses screamed a warning. A flicker of metal danced in his peripherals, aimed at his knee. Without thinking, he swung his left hand to ward it off. Arg! And an arrow pierced his palm. Naruto didn't scream. He'd suffered far worse wounds than an attempted arrow to the knee. But he did hiss in pain and clutch at it as he fell to one leg. Without thinking he reached down and ripped the shaft free from his hand. Mistake. That left him with a hole in Amber's hand and made the pain worse. So much worse, because the wound didn't heal. It should have closed already. Instead it wept fitful red teardrops on the floor. Why wasn't it healing? Kurama should have. Oh dear, he didn't have Kurama. Not anymore. This realization soured his mood even further, so much so that he forgot about his guests until a pair of strong arms hoisted Amber's body back to its feet. Less so when the tall redhead swept in front of him. You're alive. Yes, big surprise. Once again, Amber's voice emerged when he spoke in a sullen hiss. Can someone please do something about my hand? I'm sorry. The redhead blinked and her hands briefly flew to her face before she recovered. I don't have bandages, but here. In a single quick movement she tore a slender strip of cloth from her long red sash and took hold of his wounded arm. Pale fingers danced across his own as she began to bind the wound, serving as a stark contrast to his new tan skin. Amber's body sang happily at the attention and a small, fitful smile plucked at the corner of his mouth as he watched her work. For a girl who was all but brain-dead, her body was certainly sensitive. Perhaps that had something to do with the nature of her powers. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. She's mine! An angry trio of arrows snapped at Naruto out of the corner of his eye in a streak of ebony. Ozpin stepped forward to bat two away with his cane, but one curved around his guard. Amber's body reacted. It saw the threat and just moved, a supple limb reaching over and around to catch the arrow before it could slam into the redhead's unprotected back. Just like that, his temper returned with a vengeance. Tan fingers flickered with flame, and the arrow melted to sullen slag even as the redhead shrank back. Anger surged anew, hot and eager, ready to be unleashed. Would you kindly stop? He felt his eyes begin to burn as he shook the melted metal from Amber's hand. That hurts. Then hold still, girl. The archer sneered back at them, and I'll end your pain, girl. Ugh. This was going to be complicated. I think not. Ozpin didn't move beyond that single step. Movement implied motion. Motion implied that he'd actually walked, stepped, or run at the very least. There was none of that here. No transition between one moment and the next. For a fleeting sliver of a second, the headmaster of Beacon Thank You, Amber's memories, stood between them and the enemy, a firm bastion against all the evils of the world, cane in hand. In the other, he raised a large white mug to his lips. He took a long lingering sip from the contents within. Then his body flickered, the archer yelped, and the tortuous sound of rent metal filled the room. That was an impressively human-shaped divot he'd left in the wall. He almost dared to hope it was enough to keep the archer down. It did not. Did you think that would stop me, old man? All at once, the blackhead looked up at them and pulsed. Fire fled from her form in a tsunami of heat, blasting away the metal shackles that held her in place. For a fleeting instant her eyes almost seemed glows as she levitated in the air. This ghastly spectacle lasted all of an instant before her heels clicked against the ground once more. Well, that tore it. Amber called bullshit. Who fought in heels? Seriously. Still, Ozpin had hurt her, but it wasn't enough. Excusing the tears in her tress and a bruise on her cheek, she looked fit to fight and thrice as angry. Pity. Ozpin sighed. I meant to break your neck. And the world above trembled anew. This time Naruto heard someone scream up above. He was sure of it. To his mild dismay, he found he'd retained his sensory abilities at least in part, because when he dared a glance for a ceiling, the ensuing negativity above crashed down on Amber's shoulders in a crushing wave of molten lava. He nearly blacked out as he saw dozens of tiny lights be snuffed out somewhere on the surface. What was going on up there? A battle? A war? Armageddon? He was going to regret this, wasn't he? Hey, Red? What's your name? The armored girl blinked, startled by those words. Pira, ma'am, don't call me that. A tan arm waved her back. Whatever's going on up there, can the two of take care of it? You're certain? Ozpin blinked. By yourself? Yup. His fraying temper snapped. Did I stutter? You can't. Pira grabbed at him. You're hurt. We should. A disbelieving laugh burst out of Amber's lips, wild, terrified and high. He shook free. I've got this. He tilted his Amber's head to produce an audible crack. I'm gonna kick her ass and call it a night. He wasn't sure he could as he was now, even with Amber's faint experience and muscle memory to back him up. But he felt responsible for this chaos all the same. People were dying up there. He just knew it. If these two could help them somehow, if they could save lives, surely that was well worth trading away this strange new life. Who knew, maybe dying in this body would spite the gods and send him back to his old one. He could only hope. Who knew? He might even manage to eke out a win, somehow. Very well then. Ozpin relented with a sigh. Come with me, Miss Nikos. When they did as he asked, the archer made no move to stop either them. She only had eyes for Amber's body. Perhaps she fancied her chances in single combat. Who knew? For a moment he thought Pira might break off and lunge at her. Were it not for Ozpin's guiding hand, she might have. She flashed him one final look over her shoulder, then, catch! Naruto's hand snapped up and caught her shield numbly despite his surprise. He'd never used one before. How hard could it be? His next instinct was to throw it away, but they were already away. Amber's arm betrayed him and began fastening it to his wrist. So much for that idea. Lighter than he expected. Something told him he'd be needing in the next few seconds, because here came tall, dark, and deadly. That was foolish of you. Her voice was sin itself as the elevator ascended, sending them away like that. You can't hope to beat me as you are now, maybe. Naruto shrugged helplessly. Maybe not. I like my chances. Bluff, bluff, bluff. How did he fight in this body? Chances? The woman raised a demure hand to her mouth. You have no chance. None at all. See, when you say it like that, it gives me personal feelings. He bantered back. This body felt weak, yet it was also strong. Lingering anger clung to it, lending strength to limbs that hadn't moved in years. A snarl of emotion that wasn't his own sizzled through Amber's body. Her mind was well and truly gone, but her body remembered, strange as it might sound. It remembered this woman. This thief. The power burning in Amber's veins longed to be reunited with its twin, like a magnet. Even from here he felt its pull and knew that he'd never be able to coexist with this woman. Amber's body simply wouldn't let him. He didn't even know her name. Amber's body wanted her dead. He was all too happy to oblige her last wish. Any last words, girl? The raven-haired beauty purred, tan cheeks dimpled in a smile. Actually, one does come to mind. A flicker of concern danced through those golden orbs. And what might that be? Naruto drew his new body down into a low crouch, good arms sweeping behind Amber's back. Rasengan. To his immediate relief, the power came easily. Her body knew what to do, what he intended, even before the wind began to gather in his palm. Energy swept between his fingers, then through them as they clenched into a claw, responding to the very last dregs of Amber's being. If not necessarily, the new soul cradled her chest. Her body was inexperienced, but it knew how to fight, just as it knew the proper stances. Moreover, it had one thing Naruto's mind didn't. She'd fought this woman before. Memories clawed at him, and for once, he didn't resist. He gave himself to them. This body lacked his old chakra pathways and his strength. I am sorry, Amber. This power will burden you. This body hadn't moved in 2 years. Yet you must bear it all the same. This body didn't have karama. If you don't, who will? This body was weak and tired and so very sore. It should have been inferior to his old form in every way. But it wasn't. For all its deficiencies, Amber's body commanded a power he lacked, held dominance over the very elements themselves. More than enough to try an old trick or two. An idea came to him then, and with it, confidence roaring back in a euphoric flood. Burning golden eyes drifted shut as he blew out a breath to dispel the last of his stress. Focus. Breathe. Trust your instincts. YOW. Time to die, girl. Tan arms snapped up, plan abandoned as the dark-haired woman lunged at him with a snarl, bow snapping apart into a pair of blades in mid-leap. Then there was no more time for thought. He swayed back from the first swing, leaving the sword to skitter harmlessly against the ground in a shower of sparks. The next he caught on Pyrrha's shield as he stepped in, the third he snared in his bandaged hand. It bit hard into crimson bandage, but the makeshift first aid held Jewess long enough for him to get a firm grip and hold her in place. Then he reeled her in like a fish to ram the shield through her aura and into her nose. For the first time since their battle began, Cinder stopped smiling. That was before he bashed her with the shield again. She certainly wasn't laughing when Naruto bloodied her nose and flung her over his shoulder. Not fast enough. Pain flared in his spine as she raked her blade across his back in a vicious cross-cut. The pain nearly made him scream, and he tossed her away from him. No. Not him. Amber. This was too distracting. He needed to stop thinking of her body as a separate entity and not his own. He was going to get himself killed at this rate. If only he could. He hated the idea. Loathed it with all his heart. He wasn't some body snatcher. He wasn't Amber. He was Fireball. A plume of fire caromed off his borrowed shield as Cinder closed with him again. Another blast of napalm superheating the metal to scorch his arm and throw him off balance. Naruto backpedaled and caught himself trying to make a shadow clone for some desperately needed backup. Nothing happened. One of her blades slashed across Amber's stomach, and this time he couldn't quite bite back the yelp that followed. He lunged forward as she recovered and drove his head into the taller woman's chin in a frantic headbutt, to send her stumbling and buy him some much-needed distance. This wasn't working. Let go. He nearly rounded on the sound before he realized it came from within, not without. It was a woman's voice, an old one. Older than Amber. Older than time itself. Cinder lashed out at him again in that brief moment of distraction, and he swept her legs, tumbling away. Lightning skittered at the edge of his fingers, but he couldn't manage any more than that. Why? He'd been able to use it earlier. Why couldn't he now? He could just hear the god of light laughing at him now, mocking him for his every failure. And still the voice came on. Let go. He caught a blast of frost that nearly paralyzed his shield arm and lobbed the frozen metal at Cinder. It actually hit her somehow and bounced back, sending her sprawling to the floor as he caught it again. Damn it! He was trying, all right? This wasn't as easy as it looked, least of all in a fight. Let go. Taking a deep breath, Naruto closed Amber's eyes one last time. This power responds to emotion, and you're very emotional right now. Taut hands fell to her sides, fingers falling slack. Come on, body! We're both gonna die at this rate, whatever's left of you. Help me out here. We're on the same side. What do I do? And quite suddenly, someone intervened. Amber's eyes snapped open as something slid into place deep inside his soul. A missing piece of the puzzle slid into place, and it was nothing short of an epiphany. All the world slowed to a crawl around him, his opponent's movements freezing as though she were in a photograph. For a fleeting instant he felt cold arms encircle him from behind in a gentle embrace. He struggled against it, trying to turn and see his captor, but the grip proved ironclad. Brown hair tickled at his nose neck even as frigid breath pulled his neck. So. A new voice hummed. The gods screwed you over too, huh? Woo? Naruto managed eloquently. Gentle laughter tickled his ears as the arms released him and naturally, he turned around. Body met at soul and neither moved an inch. Amber's ghost, well, she looked much the same as her body, facial scars and all. Perhaps a bit more ethereal, but much the same. He should have been terrified. He'd always been afraid of ghosts. But he felt none of that fear here, not now as he stared at this wraith of a girl. A faint smile wreathed her features, her hands clasped gently behind her back as her head tilted to regard him. Enjoying the new body? She asked. Not at all. He croaked in disbelief. Are you real? Her head tilted nearly horizontal. That depends. Do you want me to be real? Naruto looked left. Naruto looked right. Considering you stopped time to give me a pep talk? Yes. The former shinobi squawked. You're clearly still around, so here. You can have. I don't want it, Naruto. His jaw clicked shut. How do you even? Amber simply smiled and shook her head. Nope. Can I please get a word in edgewise before you shut me down a guy? Nope. This is your body, he protested, flinging out his new arms. I don't deserve it. Hell, I don't even have a say in this. Take it back, I'm tired. To his dismay, Amber only shook her head anew, bringing his protest to a grinding halt. Tired of fighting, tired of running, tired of living this fearful life. My friends have moved on. I have no family to speak of. If there's an afterlife, I'll gladly take it over this hell. If not, then I'll sleep and cede control to you. Perhaps you can make better use of this power than I. But before I go here. You've been struggling, haven't you? Let me help you. She drifted closer and laid a hand to his forehead. I am thou. Thou art I. She whispered the words in his ear. By my words I release you. Take the world. Avenge me. He tried to cry out. Say something. I can't. Then those spectral dove in and gave him a hard push. With a flicker of lightning, her form dove into his and their body all but blurred forward. Cinder's gaze narrowed, searching in vain for her target, her prey. Where had she gone? Blast it, girl. Stop hiding and come out. A faint whisper of wind against her hair served as her sole warning. Her name was Amber. You killed her. In a single moment of crystal clarity, she knew what was coming. Oh, you must be kidding. Burning golden eyes seared into the witch, brimming with tears for the fallen as she rounded on the sound. Cinder never noticed. Her eyes locked on the spiraling sphere even now slamming towards her chest. Too close. She couldn't get out of the way in time. At the last instant she tried to fling herself forward, to dodge, to escape, to just get the hell away from the damned thing. She did not succeed. The most she managed was a blast of fire, but the little bitch crashed right through that with a snarl, arms snarling forward in a single piston of power. Then the Rasengan smashed into her like a truck. Someone was screaming. Oh. Was that her? And then there was pain. How can you be so broken inside? To take so many lives? Cinder, weakened and wounded, could only yelp in surprise as a bolt of lightning ripped her aura and blasted her from her feet. Ears ringing, she struggled upright. Where was the girl getting all this power? She would be weaker. Not stronger. She had half her powers. So why was she losing? A furious shriek sent her tumbling again. You come here and rub your stolen power in everyone's face like it's something to be proud of. You're not better than that horned bastard. No. You're even worse. A hand rose, and the skies opened at her beck and call, terrible twisters writhing to life from those darkened clouds. High above the dragon fell from the sky with a keening roar, wings torn asunder by countless lightning bolts, and still, Cinder could only retreat in the face of this girl's singular fury. This girl had hopes. Dreams. You took them from her. Amber's hand snapped outward as her body began to levitate. And you know what? Cinder saw the little churl's lip curl, saw those wild golden eyes searing into her own with unholy light. I've made a decision. You don't deserve this power. I'm taking it back. Your soul is mine. Somewhere in the stars above, the god of darkness cackled. What's wrong? We're all girls here. As Blake looked on curiously, Amber's face began to turn red. Oh? Of course, Yanga struck a pose, intent on teasing the girl. Like what you see? Amber keeled backwards with an unholy litany of words that didn't even sound remotely human at all. That settles it. The gods hate me. At least one of them does. You saved Perea. Amber's face twitched. Let go of my arm, will you? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Lil. Best friend ever. Let go of me. You little spider monkey. The brunette tried to wriggle free, to no avail. Ruby did not let go. If anything, she hung on to their arm even harder, kicking her legs with glee as he used Amber's arm to hold her upright. Nope. Never. Naruto wanted to say that it was a lie, that he truly wasn't this wildly powerful maiden. He was just a dead man riding a body whose mind had perished. It didn't feel like his accomplishment. It felt fake. He was trapped here until death ripped him away again. But the curse prevented it. So he settled for the next best thing, swearing. Very loudly. Lots of it. Have you any soul? The god of darkness didn't play fair. Why should he? Time and time again, his brother had bested him. Time and time again, his brother had deceived him. Time and time again, his brother had stolen that which rightfully belonged to him. What meaning did rules hold for him? Wager after wager weighed in favor of his elder brother, a cornucopia of pain and misery from which seemed no end. Even when they came to an agreement, it was ever skewed in the god of light's favor, until a certain soul changed things. A single triumph had given the god of darkness a minion, a believer, nay, a disciple. He hadn't failed to notice what his brother had done to said disciple while he was away. So that's how it was, brother. For all his prattling of impartiality, the god of light was a sore loser. The one time his younger brother bested him, the one time succeeded, the one time he triumphed, the god of light thought he was clever, did he? He'd taken that stubborn soul and shoved into a weakened body near death, a body that was, by rights, destined to die. They wouldn't be facing one opponent soon, but many. The same foes who had laid it low last time when they were less than they were now. No doubt his beloved brother intended for the poor fool to perish, to return to the cycle of life and death. That wouldn't do. No, no, no. Not at all. He'd given that soul his boon and told them to wreak havoc in his name. They couldn't cause chaos if they expired. Perhaps his minion needed a little push then, something to even the playing field in their favor. But how to go about it? They had all but abandoned Remnant, he and his brother both. Together they'd sworn never to return. Not until the 4 relics were gathered once more. Their agreement was ironclad, and he could not break it. But while the god of darkness dithered, his believer was slowly dying. His brother would not allow them to be revived once they fell. Direction intervention was necessary, but he couldn't physically intervene. He'd given that soul his boon. They were marked, known to him at all times. He saw what they saw, felt what they felt. Their pain was his pain, their strength his strength. Aha, therein lay the solution. A god must look after their disciples. So too must he. His brother couldn't argue against that. Raising a violet hand, the god of darkness reached out across the universe and gave his first follower, his believer, a nudge. He whispered in their ear and lent them the tiniest fragment of his strength. His believer wouldn't doubtlessly fail to notice it in their rage, but his enemies wouldn't. It wasn't much, not here, not now, little more than the tiniest spark of a divine being, one he used to stir the second soul in that body. It would make all the difference, and in due time, it would grow to become a roaring flame. What did that other wench call herself? Cinder? She'd be cinders herself after this. This would even the playing field and remind those mortals of whom they should worship. This would truly bring about chaos, change in its most primal form. Change that would in turn bring power. Power he thrived upon. Was it wrong to take a certain satisfaction in this? He thought not. His brother hadn't hesitated to stack the deck against him. Turnabout was fair play, as the human said. Cinderfall was not having a good day. Why won't you die? Fire fled from her fingertips and was summarily shrugged off as Amber barreled through the inferno to hack at her. Cinder backpedaled harshly and hurled a fresh blast at the angry lass, to no avail. The enraged girl cared not for the burns on her shoulders or stomach, nor the shredded state of her outfit, or even her own faltering aura. Those blazing golden eyes held only one target. One objective. Her death. Nothing less would satisfy her. In a rare moment of anger, the older woman sought to snap off a shot with her bow, pierce the girl's heart, and end her life. Her shield was gone, there was nowhere for her to hide. Surely this would end it. She did not succeed. A hurricane gale buffered the bolt from its intended target and pinned her against the wall instead. She was still struggling when she heard the telltale crackle of icicles begin to form, when she felt temperature plummet. All the world went cold around her, turning her rapid breaths into frantic puffs of steam. Get up! She couldn't stay still. She had to move. Her right hand snapped up and flames howled. Fire met ice, turning all the world to steam. By some manner of fell luck, Cinder managed to tumble free in the chaos and climb to her feet. Rolling behind the crumbling wall, she laid her back flat against it and dug out her scroll. Her fingers flitted to a familiar number. She had but a moment before Amber found her in the haze. Maybe less. Ma'am? Emerald's voice answered instantly, muffled by the chaos. Where are you? The Grim are nearly gone. Ozpin killed Adam. The White Fang are breaking. I don't care about them. Cinder shrieked. Get over here, the both of you. Now. Before Cinder fall, a raging bolt of hateful light tore through her cover to render the phone a mess of molten slag in her hand. She flung the ruined remnants away with a hiss and brought both blades to bear over her back not a moment too soon. Amber came crashing down on her like a meteor, bringing her to a knee. Cinder didn't need to see the girl. She could feel her gaze blazing over her shoulder, just as she could feel the earth splinter under her heels. A bare foot slammed down on her back like a piston, and something creaked ominously as the girl brought more of her weight to bear against her. This is the end. Her voice hissed between them. Give back what you stole and I'll let you live, and become a powerless wretch again? Never. Cinder didn't so much scream as she did explode, a raging inferno of fury that flung her foe across the school. It should have immolated her. She wasn't at her best anymore, she knew that. Had she been at her peak, she would have killed this girl by now, surely. This wasn't her fault. She refused to accept blame for this. It was all Amber's fault. That attack down in the vault had weakened Cinder more than she cared to admit. Anyone else would have perished on the spot. Were it not for her monstrous aura and the maiden powers she possessed, she would have. She'd been forced to flee up the elevator. Amber had chased her, and they'd been engaged in a running battle ever since. Their battle was vicious, nothing held back. But it was taking too long. The battle should have been won ages ago. She had to end this. Soon. You maidens are all the same. You think hoarding that power means you'll have it forever. Eyes of liquid flame regarded Amber's struggling form with venomous intent. You cling to it. You clutch it. She stalked forward, a hand flicking one of her blades outward as the other descended upon her prey. But it just makes the rest of us hungrier. She seized the girl by her hair and drew the blade across her neck. And I refused to starve. Rather than twist away from the sword about to cut her throat like any sane person would do, Amber cried out and flung herself onto it. Aura sparked viciously against the sword and somehow held. Cinder's grip did on the girl's hair did not. An earthen elbow chambered itself back into her unprotected stomach and blasted the wind from her lungs. The pain was incredible. It felt like the fist of an angry god come down to smite her for her treachery. For a fleeting instant the raw agony betrayed her. She doubled over and reflexively clutched at her torso. It was enough. Amber writhed beneath Cinder like a wild beast, slamming her head up into the older woman's chin to jar a tooth loose and make her bite her tongue. Cinder spat blood and struck back, only for the girl to press in again, leaving her blades to side harmlessly overhead before she could recover. She twisted in place and swept her legs, sending her tormentor sprawling to the floor. A boot crunched down on her throat, denying her the air she so desperately craved. Cinder's hands flew to that bronzed ankle, fighting to pry it off. This wasn't happening. Try as she might, Cinder couldn't countenance it. Couldn't believe just how badly she'd bungled her state of affairs even as she was batted about the schoolyard like a rad gull. Her mind simply refused to accept the truth and only sank further into the mire of denial. Her only recourse was to deny, and fight for her very life. She should be winning. Amber should have been easy prey. The girl was supposed comatose. A human vegetable in all but name, not this unholy screaming terror. Instead she found herself deafened as she pried the girl's leg loose and caught her staff between her blades. Said blades broke, shattering like so much brittle glass, but their sacrifice bought her the time to escape, to fling herself to freedom. Even as she danced away to summon a fresh pair, the brunette lunged after her with a howl, scepter a-whirl in golden light. Cinder snapped off another fireball, but even in her berserk rage her opponent still swung the weapon round and brought the crimson dust crystal at its tip to bear, an inch from her fellow maiden's visage. And in that moment, Cinder heard a word. Gotcha. She wasn't berserk. Amber knew precisely what she was doing. Cinder had all of a second to comprehend her peril to see the little bitch grin, before the crystal spat elemental napalm directly into her face. Cinder retaliated in kind, hurling a lance of icy death into the young woman's stomach. Too late. Amber took it without complaint and drove her attack home. For only the second time since their battle began, Cinder felt her aura buckle break, under the strain. Then she felt something else. Pain. Pain. It hurt. Gods above, it hurt. Make it stop. Arg. She tumbled to the ground with a pained shriek, clutching at the ruins of her left eye as her body spasmed. There were no words for the pain she experienced in that moment. It was agony, eternal and unending. Cinder couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. She made herself do all three. Her eye was a small price to pay for the power of the fallen maiden, surely. She'd inflicted a mortal wound on the girl. There could be no coming back from that. She would take spiteful pleasure in that. Her lone eye turned, seeking Amber in the chaos. Somehow, she was still standing, if only just. How unsightly, she laughed at her, watching this once mighty maiden sway on her feet. Look at yourself. Your aura is exhausted. Your power is nearly spent. What more can you do? For a fleeting instant, golden eyes pulsed blue. You're not exactly the picture of health yourself, foolish girl. I'll live. You won't. She turned her head and spat. Die and no peace. Her hazel eyes narrowed. I can't. Not yet. Until this body is ashes. Until my soul burns down to dust. Why go so far? Cinder struggled upright, reeling as her world spun. You're just one person. Why won't you fall? Because I made a promise. Amber choked out, wiping a bloody line from her jaw. Because I'm not alone anymore. I have another soul to look after, now. Leaning heavily against her staff, the younger maiden gazed down at her wound, scowling at the smoldering spike jutting down into her hip. Flickering golden eyes narrowed, trembling fingers laid themselves to rest on the sundered flesh, pushing the spike deeper. Her hand pulsed with flames that drew back and outward, melting the frozen ice. Cinder realized what she intended, but her own faltering legs betrayed her, leaving her unable to take advantage of the girl's weakness. Amber ripped the spike free from her flesh. The cry that followed put Cinder's to shame, if only because her opponent made no effort to hold it in. She threw her head back to the sly and screamed like an angry Beowulf howling at the moon, some bloodthirsty beast that knew only pain and suffering and rage. In that same moment her burning hand came down on the bleeding wound Cinder had left her and pulsed, bringing with it the ugly stench of burnt flesh. Amber's pain scream redoubled briefly, dying down into an agonized pant, leaving her clutching at her staff once more. She'd cauterized the wound, Cinder realized. It was crude and ghastly and wouldn't hold long, but it didn't need to. They were both on their last legs. One of them would die here. There could be no question of that. And yet, just what are you? She croaked. A bitter laugh answered her. Tired, Cinder. Very tired. I'll sleep when you're dead. Cinder turned to flee. Amber pursued. She always pursued. The girl was a storm. And the storm knew no mercy. She screamed at Cinder in kind and all the elements wailed with her. Torrents of ice snapped beneath her feet as they fought, forcing the older woman to abandon her shoes as they were ensnared. Amber didn't relent for a moment. A pillar of lightning passed perilously close to her right arm, leaving the limb tingling and her vision spinning. Even the very earth itself betrayed her, jagged spikes snapping out to cut into her calves and thighs as she tumbled away to safety. Safety? What safety? Nowhere was safe. Cinder narrowly swatted one aside and a frigid swathe of ice nearly took her head off. Even then, icicles swept toward her ruined visage. Damn it! And missed. Amber frowned and spun on the sound, aborting what would have been a fatal charge as Mercury Black, of all people, cannonied into her from the side. He paid dearly for his ambush, or perhaps the former huntress had simply learned from their last encounter. Whatever the case, his defiance was short-lived. Amber rolled with the blow, caught a second kick on her shin, and spun her staff under his guard. It smote him hard across the head, sending the assassin sprawling through a ruined stall. Cinder took the distraction for what it was and climbed to her feet, hissing softly. I remember you. Amber hissed as she watched Mercury struggle to his feet. You attacked me before. Mercury realized his peril half a heartbeat too late. Even as he surged backward, a tan palm flicked towards him and clenched into a fist. The heavens answered in kind, eager for bloodshed. Lightning lashed out impossibly fast and found the assassin before he could escape, drawn to his metal legs. Aura broke and skin melted like so much wax. In that, he was lucky, for his death would prove nearly instantaneous. His corpse didn't so much crumple as it did crumble to the earth in a pile of cinders. Those golden eyes turned to her. You're next. Cinder did not gasp. She did not weep. Her hands certainly didn't fly to her face in muted horror. She cared nothing for the assassin. He was a useful pawn who'd played his part. Nothing more. If anything, she was furious with him for dying so quickly. Blast it. She needed time to recover. She couldn't retreat here, but the pain. She leaped backward as a whip of flame lashed at the space she just occupied. Emerald flickered behind her in the chaos, poised to sink her hooked sickles into Amber's exposed back. She tried to warn the girl, tell her to stay back, too late. Instead of meeting supple flesh, they skittered off a wall of hardened earth interposing itself between the fallen maiden and certain death. That very earth flowed into mud around her, mud that swiftly froze to seal her weapons along with the arms holding them, firmly in place. Amber didn't give her a chance to escape again. Cinder snarled, flung a desperate plume of fire at the girl in an attempt to distract her and buy her cohort some time, but those golden eyes had chosen their target, and would not be swayed. A tan hand rose to intercept her flames, cradled and absorbed them as if they were her own. Cinder reeled and dropped to a knee as a wave of crippling nausea assaulted her. What was that just now? She felt weaker than ever before, and all the while, Amber's golden eyes burned ever brighter. How does it feel? Amber asked. To have that power taken from you? You're dying. Cinder. Don't you worry, the rest will be back with me soon enough. But first, a spoke of jagged eyes snapped into life in her as she spoke. I usually don't do this, you know. The words were a hum. Hurt people. Kill people, but you lot? The world will be better without you. Emerald snarled and renewed her struggles, frantically flaring her semblance at her. Too slow. The fall maiden slashed across her eyes in a savage, blinding her. This time, Cinder did wince. Those screams were terrible. One eye hurt bad enough, but the thought of losing both was enough to stir some semblance of pity even in her blackened heart. The girl was useless without her semblance, but more than that, she'd never fight again in this state. She'd be lucky to survive the night. Do you see now? You've lost. Amber paced past her. Oh, pardon the pun. You'll never see again. Not a heartbeat later, she released her prey. To her credit, Emerald didn't collapse when her arms were freed. Even as she clutched at her ruined eyes with one hand, the other lashed out with thief's respite. Amber disarmed her with ease, kicked out her knees, and delivered a contemptuous kick to her face to keep her down. Cinder stumbled to her feet, realizing what was about to happen. Those blazing eyes turned back to her, a hand still raised. Bad girl. Wait your turn. A sphere of wind snapped around Emerald's head as the very breath was pulled from her lungs and held there, denying her any and all air. No! In a fit of wild fury Cinder lunged, lone eye blazing. Fire met fire, and she felt her powers weaken again, waning as the stronger blaze blew her back. Amber drank from them greedily, her strength returning even as Cinder's continued to wane. Her own power fought against her body now, betrayed her, longed to return to its true host. She wasn't dead yet, far from it, but the power had a will of its own all the same. It knew what was happening, and would have no part of her trickery. So did Amber. A single right hook sent Cinder stumbling away. You think freedom is something that you can give or take on a whim? The burning maiden reprimanded her as Emerald began to choke helplessly behind them. But to people like her, freedom was just as essential as air. Amber's head tilted just so as Emerald continued to struggle fitfully, clawing weakly at her throat. And without it, there is no life. There was no mercy to be found in her gaze as a final, rattling breath escaped Emerald's throat. There is only darkness. The purse slumped with little more than a croak, leaving Cinder to lunge aside as a fireball eviscerated the space she just occupied. And now you, she skittered back like a drunken crab. You're wretched. How can you be so broken inside? Amber railed at her, fists balled at her sides as she lurched forward. To take so many lives? Your subordinates just dies in front of you. I killed them. And you didn't shed so much as a tear. Weakened and wounded, Cinder could only yelp in surprise as a bolt of lightning ripped through the last of her aura to blast her away. She crashed backwards, breaking through a concrete wall before she managed to right herself. Not a moment too soon. Scarce had she struggled to her feet than Amber's staff sighed at her head again. She barely blocked it. Blazing orbs of molten gold and cerulean blue blazed down at her. Where was the girl getting all this power? She would be weaker. Not stronger. She had half her powers. So why was she losing? A furious shriek sent her tumbling again. You come here and rub your stolen power in everyone's face like it's something to be proud of. A hand rose, and the skies opened at her beck and call, terrible twisters writhing to life from those darkened clouds. You're no better than that horned bastard. No, you're even worse. She screamed, and something far larger screamed with her. This girl had hopes. Dreams. You took them from her. Amber's hand snapped outward as her body began to levitate. High and far above them the great grim dragon plummeted from the tower with a keening roar, wings torn asunder by countless lightning bolts. All around them, the last of its kin were eviscerated by the storm. Of the white fang, only a handful remained. Without Adam Taurus to rally them, their ranks broke and those took flight for the cliffs. And still, Cinder Fall could only retreat in the face of this girl's singular fury. That settled it. The gods truly loved this girl. At least one of them must have. How else could she still be alive? And you know what? Cinder swore she saw the little churl's lip curl, saw those wild golden eyes searing into her own with unholy light. I've made a decision. You don't deserve this power. I'm taking it back. Your soul is mine. She flung up the last bit of her aura as another lightning bolt crashed into her and sent her flying. Somewhere in the stars above, the god of darkness cackled. Cinder never heard it as she crashed into the dirt. She was too busy fighting for her life. Amber pounced upon her and slammed her down, straddling the older woman's hips as a lover might until her hands found Cinder's throat. Then they began to squeeze. Cinder Fall. When next she spoke, her voice echoed with the cries of thousands who had come before her. You have betrayed the express command of life itself. You have stolen that which did not belong to you. Usurper. Traitor. Manipulator. You will receive no mercy. Cinder lashed out desperately with both arms, trying to burn the girl away one last time. Amber swayed back atop Cinder and let the pillar of flame sear harmlessly over her head. Then she lashed out in kind. Not with fire, but ice. Cinder tried to jerk her arms back a fraction of a second too late. Amber caught the right and rendered it a useless heavy pillar of ice, one she shattered well below the elbow. There was no pain. Only a strange sensation of weightlessness and loss. While she gaped in wordless shock, the true Fall maiden seized her remaining limb and spun, pivoting around to force her fellow maiden onto her back and wrenched the joint out of place. A single palm snapped away from Cinder's arm to create another frozen weapon of her own, a little short-bladed thing with graceful curves and flowing edges. Cinder barely beheld its beauty before it swung up in a vicious arc and slammed back down on her outstretched limb. Someone screamed. She would realize sometime later that it was her. She never saw her remaining arm flop away, but she felt every inch of the pain that came afterwards. Pain that left her writhing on the ground like a helpless child. It seared through her veins like lava, even worse than the loss of her eye and all she'd suffered. A tan palm seized her hair just as she'd done before and forced her to arch her neck back. Back. Further still. Disarmed in every sense of the word and with only her legs left to her, Cinder couldn't even fight back properly. She could only wail and kick and scream. This wasn't supposed to happen. It shouldn't be this way. She was meant to win. Fate hard ordained it. Destiny was on her side. So why? I don't understand. The words escaped her in a confused, quiet whisper. It shouldn't be like this. I should have won. You call this a victory? Through your arrogance and stupidity, you have opened these peaceful kingdoms and innocent lives to the horror and desolation of war. Those blazing golden eyes now flecked with blue and hints of fell violet burned down into her, searing through her very soul as she continued to snarl and spit. You are unworthy of this power. Unworthy of your title. She felt a frigid edge caress her neck and cursed the girl with what she hoped was her last breath. You are unworthy of those you trust have betrayed, but death here would be a mercy. You will not have it. Another weapon of cold ice flicked out again, but this time it did not cut flesh. It cut her soul, cut her strength, cut the tether binding it to her body. I take from you now your power. She intoned, speaking over Cinder's shouted condemnation, your title. Your all. In the name of chaos and all maidens who came before, I cast you out. Something rushed out of Cinder and into Amber's chest. A vivid pulse of vermilion light she recognized all too well and snarled at the sight of her power. The maiden's power. It felt as though someone had severed a piece of her very being alongside it, leaving her a mere shadow of her former self. In comparison, Amber almost seemed to shine somehow, as though lit from within. So that was it then, defeat. Bitter tears welled up in Cinder's eyes, ruined and healthy alike. Just like that, it was gone. The power she'd worked so hard to claim over the last few years, snatched back by the one she'd stolen it from. All without killing her. It made no sense. What did it matter? Her eye was gone, her arms ruined. She had nothing left to give. Only her hatred, and even that threatened to gut her out entirely. She hadn't just taken her powers, she'd stolen her semblance with that strange hocus-pocus just now. She had nothing to her name but aura. She was nothing. Kill me. Amber rose, her dark deed done, standing straighter than ever before. Those strange eyes gleamed with another stray spark of violet, and dimmed. With a wave of her hand she summoned her staff to her side once more, and Cinder tensed, ready for the final blow. It never came. The faint sound of shuffling footsteps claimed her attention. When she opened her eye, she found the girl walking away. What are you doing? She rasped, struggling to raise her head. Finish what you started, girl. End my life. No, when next she spoke, Amber's voice had lost that booming resonance. I don't think I will. She could hear voices approaching in the distance, angry voices that didn't belong to the White Fang. Ah. So that was her game. She was to be arrested by Ozpin and his lackeys, imprisoned, interrogated. Once, the great Cinder fall, she would have scoffed at the thought, but now? It filled her with fear. As she was now, she'd gone back, become that same, helpless child she'd always been. No, worse than that. Without her arms she couldn't even defend herself from anyone. What do I do now? Amber stormed back to her. Run. The world was a growl. Run away, Cinder. And never return. You're sparing me? She croaked incredulously. This changes nothing. I won't stop. Sparing you? An ugly laugh burst from Amber's throat. No. This is not mercy. I'm sending you back to your master with your tail between your legs, with the knowledge that you failed. Assuming you can even survive in your sorry state. Those blazing eyes gleamed with a stray spark of something otherworldly again. I don't do this for you. I do this for chaos. What did you just say? Must I repeat myself? Chaos. It was chaos that gave me my revenge, and in the name of chaos that your schemes have come undone. Amber paused, and sketched a shallow bow to no one in particular. In the name of chaos, your underlings are dead. In the name of chaos, all your ambitions are for naught. The lonely girl in the tower will be furious with you. And that? Her smile curved further still, leaving Cinder with the faint suspicion that something was speaking through the girl as if she were using her as a vessel. That is a punishment worse than death. What the hell are you? A very unlucky person. Amber said simply. Tell her that the Fall Maiden dedicates this victory to the God of Darkness, and that I look forward to her defeat. Her staff rose in her hand, its smooth edge alighting beneath Cinder's trembling chin. You were powerless before this, Cinder. You will be powerless once again. No one. Nothing. Now run. And now I sleep. Naruto's world snapped back with a lurch as Amber's spirit receded somewhere deep and dark inside their body, leaving his soul reeling alone in the black. Unfortunately, with his partner asleep, the pain came rushing back in a bitter rush, crippling sense and self alike. It seized every thought, caused every muscle to clamp down in singular agony, brought his new body to its knees. That fight had been mostly her doing. She'd taken control of her body again. He'd been more of a bulwark than anything else. Now she was sleeping. I thought you didn't want to wake up. He muttered. I didn't. Someone changed my mind. A soft yawn answered him. Try not to wreck my body while I'm asleep. It's yours. So it was. He watched Cinder fall stumble away into the distance, stumbling and tripping over herself like a petulant child. Even from here one could hear her sobbing, snarling, as she slunk away into the night. For a moment, he considered pursuing her, finishing what he'd started. It would be so easy, but no. She did not deserve the sweet release of death. Not after all she'd said and done. Without her arms, without her powers, the Grimm would soon find her. Even if they didn't, she'd never be whole again. That was a fate he didn't envy. Come back, RWBY. A crimson blur clad in bronze barreled past them with a war cry. Both souls blinked. What? Amber began. The actual hell. Naruto finished. To her credit, fear is an excellent motivator. Cinder Fall almost escaped. Indeed, she actually made it out of the main courtyard before a furious Pira Nikos found her. The redhead showed no mercy. She struck like a bolt of lightning, slamming the master manipulator to the ground. 3 quick blows pummeled the blackette into unconsciousness, and if the invincible girl proceeded to drag her through the dirt behind her like some fell prize after that, well, they had no complaints. Huh. Captured it is. The softer soul shrugged helplessly. Didn't know she had a mean streak like that. Cinder tried to kill her. Amber answered him. I think she's due some knocks. What happened to sleeping? You're never going to let me rest. He thought he heard a smile in her voice. What's the point? Try to stay still. Their wound chose that moment to protest violently. Didn't stop them from raising a fist in victory. Drained as he was, distracted as they were, Naruto and Amber never saw the attacker until it was too late. A shadow fell over them, then someone latched onto their arm. Naruto expected many things. Perhaps it was a last-ditch attack by the White Fang. Perhaps some foolish Grimm sought to avenge its brothers. What the hell? You saved Pirea. After all they'd said done, it wasn't this. Amber's face twitched. Let go of my arm, will you? Thank you, Lil. Best friend ever. Let go of me. You little spider monkey. The brunette tried to wriggle free, to no avail. Ruby did not let go. If anything, she hung on to their arm even harder, kicking her legs with glee as he used Amber's limb to hoist her upright. Nope. Never. Naruto wanted to say that it was a lie, that he truly wasn't this wildly powerful maiden. He was just a dead man riding a body whose mind had gone to sleep. Oh, he'd helped, but it didn't feel like his accomplishment. It felt fake. He was trapped here until death ripped him away again. But the curse prevented it, so he settled for the next best thing, swearing. Very loudly. Lots of it. What the heck are morals? Two souls fighting for control of one body. There was a joke to be made there, and Naruto was too stoned not to make one. Sounds like the beginning of some trashy porn novel, you know? He mused aloud as he gazed blearily at the pale ceiling of their hospital room and watched everything continue to spin. Never mind the fact that we're not really fighting each other at all. It's weird, don't you think? Who comes up with these ideas? Herc. Amber's voice groaned. Can I die again? Death would be better than this. He had no idea what kind of drugs the nurses must have given them, but right now, pain had ceased to have any meaning for the two of them. Oh, and the ceiling had colors. The colors had sounds. Sounds they could both feel could when Amber reached up with an arm. It made thinking difficult, to say the least. Also, trippy. Thanks to the drugs, his mind kept going off on a dozen different tangents. This was merely the latest of them. If this was what it felt like to be high, he wasn't looking forward to the inevitable crash. By the log, that was going to suck. The least you could do is play devil's advocate. He sulked. Not like we have anything better to do in this bed. Fine. It's not a bad book, actually. Amber's presence reluctantly rose when he prodded her, even as his thoughts continued to whirl and swirl. Don't knock ninjas of love until you've tried it. A harsh laugh burst out of Naruto and emerged with her voice. Wait, that's an actual title? Hey! She cried out. I'll have you know it was perfectly good reading material. The wayward soul blinked inwardly. No, you've read it, haven't you? Huh. Could a soul blush? He had the feeling Amber was, just now. I will end you. She seethed. I swear. One more word. Naruto grinned and laid back on the pillows. At least he wasn't suffering alone. In the aftermath of the battle for Beacon, he could take some black humor in that at least. For better or worse, they'd won the day. Triumphed, succeeded, conquered the hill, all other manner of other flowery words that signified winning. Adam Taurus was dead. Cinder Fall was disarmed literally, left in secure custody under guard by one Glinda Goodwitch. There would be no chance of escape for that one, not after what she'd done. Or rather, what she'd failed to do. Amber's ears twitched as another muffled shout echoed outside their room. Sounds like another one. Naruto yawned. Seems like it. For all its fire and flame, the Battle of Beacon hadn't produced a single casualty on Beacon's side. Not a one. With the Grimm dispatched, those of the White Fang had nearly been massacred to a man. Some had escaped into the city. Others had flung themselves from the cliffs to escape the storm and drowned in the sea. There was still many a nasty injury among the hunters and civilians, but from what they'd been told, Ozpin's direct intervention and Amber's storm, their storm, had turned the tide. Everyone had seen it. Some said the storm smacked of divine intervention, because it was. The god of darkness had played his hand, for reasons they didn't understand, and this was the result of it. Bah! Some result. On the news, folk had taken to calling Amber Dragonslayer thanks to her might feats. That and Stormborn. Neat. Stop. His host gave an angry wail. Don't call me that name. That's a death flag if I've ever heard one. Amber Stormborn. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? You don't have a last name, after all. No, they'd wrought a miracle, no matter how you sliced it, and just the sort of outcome Naruto would have wished for during in the Fourth Shinobi War. They were the talk of the school for it. Only a day after the attack, and the news continued to pour in. They'd not had any visitors as of yet, but both knew it was coming. Unfortunately, their newfound fame and injuries came with a cost. Now, hold still, dearie. This might sting a bit. Amber hissed like a struck snake and withdrew without warning, Naruto in control of their body again. The reason soon became apparent when a nurse began removing the last of their bandages. Now, Naruto never liked nurses. He liked the idea of doctors even less. When a nurse tore a bandage off burned skin that they'd been forced to cauterize in the heat of battle? Not to mention nearly a dozen other injuries? It didn't sting. It burned. Like it or not, this was Amber's body. He was just a guest, little more than a wraith bound to her flesh by an angry god. It also begged another, more curious question. Was he trapped here? He strained left and wriggled to the right as best he could. Could his soul leave her body and find another, possibly Pasaso Wawo? Naruto and Amber hissed in shared anger as a nurse pried the last stitch loose from their waist. It hurt! The nurse must have noticed too, because she scurried out before either soul could swear a bloody streak at her. Don't be such a baby, says the girl who hid. He hissed at her once he was certain they were alone. I hate doctors. Hate. We're healthy enough to leave as is. Why keep us here? Well, she smirked, you're going to hate this next bit even more. We have company. The door to their room opened again, and Naruto nearly hissed. Well? The word emerged as a sulky whine. What is it, Amber? You're looking well for a dead woman. Got better. What do you want, Ozpin? In this body, Amber's knowledge was his knowledge. Baffling as that might sound, he had full access to her memories. Just as she did his. As such, Naruto found that he recognized the silver-haired man standing before him, despite never having laid eyes on him in his life. He knew everything Amber knew of him, and what she knew didn't exactly inspire trust. Still, this was someone Amber implicitly believed to be just that, and the faint aroma of fresh coffee emanating from the mug in his hand was sweet ambrosia to her senses. Can we steal that? She actually whined, in the back of his head at the sight of that most precious liquid. Please? Pretty please? Whoa! Naruto balked as she nearly took control on the spot. Hey! Down girl. It's just coffee. What's the big deal? How are we feeling today? The headmaster asked, unaware of their argument. May I? Amber whispered. I know him better. What? Sure. He's all yours. Yay! It was a strange thing, to actively cede control of your body to someone else, even if that body wasn't yours to begin with. Like letting go of a breath you hadn't realized you'd been holding and sinking into a warm pool of water. He felt Amber's soul brush against his for the merest of moments. Then her eyes burned gold, and she was in control. He still experienced everything she did, felt all she felt. He simply wasn't in charge of her motor functions that moment. As though he were watching a movie through a hazy screen, but the screen was her eyes. I've been better. Amber seamlessly took control to answer for him. What do you have there under your arm? A newspaper? Oh, this? Ozpin chuckled softly. Something you should see for yourself. But first, I coming bearing gifts. He offered her the mug of coffee in his hand. Amber didn't move. She leaped. Even with their senses connected, Naruto didn't quite see how she reached it. One moment she was sitting cross-legged in her bed as Ozpin closed the door behind him and offered her a drink. The next, said drink found its way to her hands as she knocked it back. Scalding liquid coursed down her throat, bringing with it a sudden rush of vitality and energy. Ah, sweet bliss. She purred and held out her hand. Paper, please? Ozpin capitulated with a wordless smile. Once the fall maiden soon lost as her jaw clicked open. Hero of Beacon. She stammered out. Protector of Veil. The girl who lived? More titles? What the hell is this? Naruto laughed softly as she crumpled the paper in her grasp. Expected? We kinda went wild against Cinder, remember? Amber made angry amber noises. You caused quite the stir with your powers last night, but there's no denying that you helped me turn the tide. Ozpin swooped in and took a seat on the bed before she could foam at the mouth. We'd hoped to play it off as an elemental-based semblance, but someone recorded your battle. You've become quite the celebrity. He must have seen her twitch, because he laid a hand on her shoulder. Rest assured, I dispatched Adam tourists and shepherded those I could to safely. You did well, Amber. More than anyone could possibly hope for. If only he knew her inner thoughts, he might not have thought so. That does it. Naruto? Have control for the day. I'm taking a nap. No, you don't. You're suffering with me. That aside, we thought you were gone. The headmaster continued, taking his hand from her arm. For all intensive purposes you were dead. Yet you awoke. Both caught the faint hint of concern in his voice. You were comatose for nearly 2 years and somehow you lived. How did you survive? Bad luck and the god of darkness. Amber muttered blackly. Take your pick. What was that? Ozpin frowned. Nothing. Shit. Naruto couldn't shout as he was now, but he could certainly balk at what he just heard. He knew full well that the god of light had cursed him thrice over, but Amber was only revived after the fact thanks to the god of darkness. Did the curse not bind her as it did him? Was that a good thing? Had that horny bastard given them a workaround to spite his brother? It seemed like something one sibling would do to another. It also begged a dangerous question. Did he want her to reveal him? Yes. Very much so. Was it a good idea? No. Not at all. Putting aside the face that he wasn't quite sure he trusted Ozpin, there was also the matter of their predicament. Amber was an open book to him, as he was to her. You couldn't hide the truth with someone when your souls were bound together, much less when housed by the same body. It simply wasn't possible. She could claim there was a voice in her head all she liked, but with his tongue thus bound, they had no reliable way of proving his existence. Never mind the fact that most would think them crazy. Ozpin might understand. He might not. In the end, they had no way of knowing the truth. Is there something you'd like to tell me, Amber? Even now she sensed Naruto's discomfort, and held her tongue. Nope. She shook her head, smile faltering only slightly. Nothing at all. Ozpin looked like he wanted to press the matter, but he didn't. Thank the log for small mercies. Instead he leaned back on his cane, steadied himself, and shook his head. Very well then. He accepted his empty mug from her hands as she returned it. There is still the matter of your power, and it will take time for you to recover. There was a pause as he seemed to marsh his thought, and both souls waited for the other shoe to drop. As such, I think it in your best interests that we put an end to your little excursions for the time being. Her shoulders went still. Because of her. Cinder, yes. For the first time since they'd met him, Naruto suddenly found himself wary of the man before them. There are things you don't know, Amber. Matters that need to be brought to light. Cinder was but one agent of many, a single cog in a greater machine. I hate to sour your victory over her. They're going to come for me again, aren't they? She murmured. They are. Wow. Tactful of him. Not. Naruto felt the precise moment that Amber's hope turned to dread and instantly clamped down on it. He saw the memory before she could hide it. She wanted to help people. She liked it. Lived for it. She nearly died for it. And now Ozpin wanted to ensconce her behind the walls of Beacon once more. With good reason it seemed, but still, that wasn't fair to her. Not at all. His soul lacked a hand to put over hers, but he still bumped his presence against the back of her mind. Hey, you've got me, remember? You're not alone. We beat Cinder. We'll beat the rest. Amber flushed and shot him a quick thank you in return. Perhaps it was arrogance on their part to think so, but together, united in common cause, they were one of the most powerful beings on Remnant right now. The one true thing that Amber had lacked in her first life was combat experience. His memories provided that in spades with fresh instincts hammered home into her body. Even Ozpin wouldn't be able to stop them now if they took it into their heads to leave, right? That aside, I believe there's another page you should read there. Ozpin indicated the ruined newspaper out. On the bottom, Amber did as she was bid. And saw. Her eyes burned with fresh flame. Are you when? How? It's only been a day. What is this? The people are quite enamored with you. Ozpin leaned over her shoulder, and for once he looked just as exasperated as her. Consider this. You were seen wielding the elements with ease, called down a storm, and slew a giant grim dragon. Hundreds of people saw your fight with Cinder. Suppressing the story did us no good. Word of mouth had already spread, and we couldn't erase the evidence. She flashed him a bleak look lower, and he retreated somewhat to lean upon his cane. Now you see why I'd rather keep you in Beacon. Is that why they're calling me a goddess? She groaned into a palm of her hand. Ozpin, you didn't. Tell me you didn't let them run with this story. I believe the correct term was Dark Goddess of Victory or some such. His smile carried the faintest hint of sarcasm. Forgive me, my memory isn't what it used to be. Did we just start a cult? Naruto swore softly. I think we did. I blame you for this. Look out! Without warning, the door to their room crashed open and all thoughts of fight or flight were washed away in the absolute deluge of bodies that flooded into the room. Four young girls toppled forward into one another, spilling down in an angry snarl of arms and limbs. Even a blind man could see that they'd been eavesdropping. Amber blinked rapidly and Naruto joined her. So many voices. So many colors. Red. White. Black. Yellow. Where had they all come from? Ozpin saw the true threat for what it was and wisely backed away. It would seem our time is up for the day. He favored her with a bemused smile. We'll continue our discussion at a later date. Naruto finally saw the little red terror from before beneath the pile of bodies because she waved, and went pale. Hey there? She squeaked out. Sorry for the intrusion. No, don't leave us here with them. The absolute bastard booked it without so much as a backward glance, and then the swarm descended. Are you okay? RWBY was the first to reach them, and immediately began babbling as she fussed over their wounds. I mean, you look okay, but do you need anything? Personal space. Amber croaked out, pushing at her. You're way too close. You heard her, Rubes. A new voice rang out. Sorry, Yang, why? Sure enough, a strong arm plucked the little huntress up by her hood and lifted her off her feet. In a single seamless movement she set her down behind her. Amber had all of half a heartbeat to exclaim her thanks before an unfamiliar pair of purple eyes loomed before her. The fall maiden jerked back in surprise and Naruto with her. RWBY had close before, but this one? Her head rested against theirs, bringing with the faint scent of sweat and a hint of fire. Her grin was positively infectious. Hello? Here you go, princess. Warm breath ghosted across her cheek. A little reward for the hero of the hour. Something warm, yielding, and infinitely soft pressed against the side of Amber's face. Naruto squawked. Amber's brain physically rebooted. What? It was just a little kiss on the cheek. The blonde grinned back at them, lilac eyes hooded with amusement. Just my way of saying thank you for saving me the other night. I didn't save you! She cried. No, but Ozpin did. Amber made angry Amber noises as Yang clapped her on the back. He says you sent him my way and I ain't kissin' him. Sorry, not sorry. The Fall Maiden opened her mouth to protest, and Naruto with her, to that effect, but their anger never found its voice. Let's have a little chat. Instead their vision, and the world with it, gave an almighty lurch that only they could feel. Everything burned 7 shades of shadow. It was a startling, painful thing and neither expected it, least of all what followed the sudden lurch in reality. Ugh. It felt like behind it by a truck. There you are. Naruto looked up. Up again. Up. The god of darkness looked back, looming over them in the glassy white void with arms crossed before his broad chest. Naruto swore and raised his fist at him, only to find that he had a fist to shake. His own arms stared back at him, clothes and all, more transparent than he would have liked, but still. He looked left, looked right, found himself decidedly of the male persuasion once more, and gave a delighted whoop. Ha! I've got a body again. You do? Amber's yelp caused him to turn, and sure enough, he found her beside him. Having a body of her own, she was quite solid in this realm. Place. What have you? Almost made him jealous. Wide eyes of burning gold gazed back at him in abject confusion, and perhaps just a touch of all. No, the god above them boomed. That would be your soul. Naruto took his chance for what it was and rounded on him. You can fix this, right? I won. We won. Now let me go. The laughter of a god is a strange thing. It does not echo, but rather, simply exists. It rose all at once, swelling in the air around them. I cannot. Though he lacked a face by which to convey emotion, Naruto felt the faintest stirrings of anger in the air. Doing so would mean undoing my brother's work, and that would break our pact. But I am nothing if not a magnanimous being. A giant purple finger poked the blonde in the chest, or what amounted to it. Here. I shall loosen the ties that bind you to thy girl's body, but I cannot break them. Let my brother think you found a way on your own. I've already skirted the rules enough to help you, bloody tsundere. Naruto sulked, crossing his arms. The god of darkness grunted in what might have been confusion. What is it, tsundere? No. They were not having this conversation. You're not making any sense here. Amber pressed, her expression turning petulant. Why help us? Why? That immense horned head tilted. Because you are my chosen. The very word seemed to reverberate with power in the air between the three of them, my first followers in nearly an age. And now, there will be more soon to come because of your actions. As such, I wanted to thank you in person and give you a warning, and that is? Amber's chin jutted out in stoic defiance. You are bold, girl. But it will not be enough. His great form leaned forward, looming over them. Beware the light. My brother is many things, but a sore loser stands chief among them. He intended for the two of you to die. Be on your guard. He may well select a champion of his own to thwart you now. Before either could protest, a giant purple hand swept down over them and rendered the world black. Continue to entertain me, and the reality snapped back like a rubber band. That settles it. Naruto groaned, sick to his soul. I hate gods. Every last one of them. Burn them. Burn them all. Seconded. You ready to go, slugger? Woo? Yang flashed them a winning smile, seemingly ignorant of what had just transpired. Well, you passed out for a bit, but the doc said you were good to go home. Both souls balked. We are? They were? That was news to them, and not the happy variety. That's good, I guess? Naruto hazarded. Paused. Realized. Oh. Wait a minute. What home? Amber snorted inwardly. I've been dead for 2 years, remember? I probably don't even have a dorm here anymore. If I did, it's likely been claimed by someone else. Some of this despair must have shown through on her face, because RWBY pounced on it and grabbed their hand. Naruto was beginning to think the girl wasn't anywhere near as innocent or harmless as she appeared to be. Amber disagreed. She couldn't possibly be plotting anything dangerous. Not with a face like that. She was too innocent. Too sweet. You don't have anywhere to go, do you? Then those silver eyes lit with an idea they liked. Then you can stay with us. Just for tonight, eh? Never mind. Seconded. Yang chimed in. Thirds. Blake put in after a moment's pause. Weiss blew out a soft breath. Oh, very well then. Fourth. But just for tonight. And I'm not sleeping on the floor. As the rest of Team RWBY continued to talk, Naruto felt the momentum turning in their favor. Amber tried to raise a hand and speak, only to find herself summarily ignored in the chaos. You know anything about them? No. She squeaked back. Nothing. Are they always like this? You're asking me? I know even less than you do. Gah, fine. Let me talk. Sorry, he took control and schooled a stern scowl to her face, but I don't think that's a good idea. I'll make my own arrangements. That should have settled the matter then and there. Against any other team, it would have. Yang ran rushshot over them. It's decided then. Up you go. Quick as a flash, she scooped them up. Just lifted them right out of the bed and into her arms. There was no escape, no resistance, none at all. Naruto gurgled in surprise. Amber positively squeaked. What? No. This is tyranny. Oppression. Put me down. She continued to make angry amber noises as they dragged her away. You'd better not braid my hair. Naruto was beginning to realize his host was something of a tomboy. Oh, it won't be that bad. His fellow blonde beamed. It's just a welcome party. Nobody's going to hurt you. A pause followed. Who said anything about a party? 0.0.0. They reached the dorm in short order. Far too short by Naruto and Amber's reckoning, but there was no avoiding what was to come. Yang's grasp was stronger than iron. They couldn't break free without hurting her, and neither was willing to go that far just to escape. Worse, perhaps because they expected Amber's body to bolt, they were all but flanked on either side by the rest of Team RWBY. Any and all avenues of escape were well and truly cut off. Worse, Yang had yet to let go of them, meaning they were part and parcel for the ride. Well, here we are. RWBY utterly failed to notice the tension in the older girl's shoulders as they arrived. Don't worry, you'll get along just fine, Naruto disagreed. I can sense a lot of people behind that door. You sure you don't know anyone here? Amber flailed for answers. Maybe? Coco's team might still be active. Who the heck is Coco? You heard her. Before she could answer, Yang plopped them down, wrenched the door open, and thrust them through. Get in there, champ. Amber threw a half-hearted swipe over her shoulder, but by then it was already too late. Her legs betrayed her, carried her 4 fateful steps forward into the dark, and she was lost. Dark. It was way too dark. Where were all the lights? Had the power gone out or, surprise, all at once the lights snapped on and a chorus of voices assailed their ears. Followed by colors. Lots of colors. Did they mention the confetti? Sputtering in surprise, Amber tried to backpedal. Blake and Weiss gave her a gentle nudge forward and she forbore the urge to hiss at them. A hastily made blue banner with the words "Welcome back" etched in red letters awaited them within. Stray bits of confetti tumbled from it like falling leaves. Amber frowned at it, only to find herself buelled forward by the rest of Team RWBY. None of them let her run away, the absolute traitors. Amber even spied a cake, and her stomach growled at the sight of it. There was the redhead from before Pyrrha, in her bronze armor, all but draped around an unassuming young man in a black hoodie. Literally draped. Even as she waved with one arm, the other was wrapped around his waist as she all but leaned into him. Much to his surprise, the boy allowed it. Well, 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 good for them. Naruto idly noted blonde hair and blue eyes before Amber's attention was wrenched away again. Then came the rest, and he had to squint it against all the colors. Ooh, is this the Storm Girl? A new voice cried before Amber could reach Pyrrha. Nice to meet you, Nora, don't break her. An orange-haired girl clad in pink and white with eyes of pure amethyst, and a smile to match latched onto her arm. Speaking of pink, her companion actually had pink eyes. Huh. Was it a bloodline or something? Was that a thing here? There was even a lone pink streak in his otherwise raven hair. He seemed to tolerate the girl with a patience that suggested a lifetime of such insanity. But there, near the back of the room, hiding behind an absolute giant of a man, Coco? Amber seized control with such force that Naruto felt his soul spin in a circle. By the time he'd regained control of his senses, a beret-clad brunette was storming towards them. Her clothes were fashionable in a way that he couldn't hope to describe, but her eyes were wild behind her sunglasses, burning with an emotion he didn't recognize. Amber, however, stood stock still, gold eyes wide and flickering with soft flames. As the poor fall maiden babbled helplessly, Naruto took a moment to sift through her memories and see just why she was so flustered. Ah. So this was Coco Adele. They'd known each other before and were friends. Little more. So why was Amber acting like a skittish colt around her? Oh. Oh ho. He took another look through her eyes and saw why. The heat in Coco's eyes was anything but friendly. Amber tried to hide, to skitter back out the door, but the brunette blocked her with her body. You were dead. Amber offered a little rueful smile, followed by a helpless shrug. I got better? I can see that. Coco caught her by the chin and wrenched her head to the right, then the left, followed by right once more before she tugged her gaze back. It's been 2 years, but look at you. A small, bitter laugh leaped from her lips. You haven't aged a day. Her lips pursed into a frown. It's not fair. Now I'm the older one. Nope. Naruto jerked backward. This was Amber's problem, not his. He felt as if he were intruding just by being here. Naturally, he tried retreated and ignored the utter deluge of words that followed, but it was impossible. He was aware of everything, from the fierce moment of heat that rose to the girl's dark cheeks, down to her response. Some sixth sense told him what was coming and he pointedly ignored it, knowing the disaster that was about to unfold, yet powerless to prevent it. Help! Amber wailed inwardly. Naruto steadfastly ignored his host. Look, about that. The fall maiden stammered out, hands flailing. Don't get mad. I can explain. Really, I can MMPH? Coco didn't wait to hear it, because she grabbed her by the face and kissed her fiercely. Yan whistled wolfishly somewhere in the background. Hot damn, bois. Amber squeaked with bruised lips as she was released. Ayuwa, that's for dying. Coco kissed her again, muffling her protest with her mouth. This is for scaring me half to death. She pulled away once more, considering the reeling brunette before her with an absolutely black look. And this, she declared with an emphatic click of her tongue, is for coming back. Neither Naruto nor Amber were able to think for quite some time. As far as gifts went, Coco's lips were lovely. Naruto be nimble. Amber woke alone. ACH, my had anybody get the number of that bus? There was no response. Nobody come back. No string of snark to answer her. Her heart skipped a single traitorous beat when she realized she couldn't hear Naruto's voice. Strange as it might sound, she had grown accustomed to having the wandering shinobi in her head these days. It was like having a guardian angel watching over her, one with a foul mouth and absolutely no sense of tact, but a companion nevertheless. It also served as a reminder that she wasn't alone in this madness. He was part and parcel to her insanity, bound to her soul by a higher power. Both of them had died. Both of them had been brought back to life. She was just a little more whole than she was at the moment. For him to be silent now didn't bode well at all. He was up to something. She just knew it. Naruto? Her words echoed in an empty room. Amber's heart began to pound. Reluctantly rising, the fall maiden tugged down her navy tee where it had ridden up and dragged herself out of bed. Bare feet padded across the carpet as she stalked to her dresser and the mirror within. Her new room, if it could be called such, didn't really have much in the way of furnishing. She'd not had the chance to decorate it yet. She and Naruto hadn't been able to agree on anything there. Ozpin had only conceded and given her new quarters down the hall after a disastrous night spent with teams RWBY, JNPR, and CFEY. Oh, the chaos they'd caused. Just thinking of it made her smile. She didn't find Naruto in the mirror either. Pity. She'd thought he'd spook her there. He'd done it before. Instead, a love bite near the neck greeted Amber's eyes. Damn it, Coco, as she gazed at herself. Clad in little more than an oversized shirt, her reflection gazed back at her. She touched a hand to her cheek, frowning thoughtfully as she did. Her face, as well as her bare body beneath the shirt, still bore the scars left by Cinder's ambush. She'd come to accept it, to bear them with pride. She was a survivor. She'd come back from the dead. Cinder? Cinder would be begging for it once Ironwood was done with her. A small, vindictive part of Amber looked forward to the woman's coming interrogation. Ozpin had promised she would be present when it began. Good. Amber wanted to be there. She wanted to see that bitch squirm. Something rattled against her window, causing her to jump. Amber jumped and cast an anxious about her quarters. Sure enough, her cursory search didn't yield anything. Silly girl, she told herself. It's just the rain. There she was again, jumping at shadows. Really, it almost felt strange, being back in Beacon. Stranger still that she couldn't find her resident ghost. This isn't funny, Naruto, she cried. Where are you? Stop hiding, a muffled cry answered. Call, Amber blinked. Once, twice, thrice. What? Upon the third fluttering of her long lashes she finally dared to turn her head in search of the sound. A lone raven awaited her on the outside of her windowsill, its bright blue eyes searing into her soul through the glass. Poor birdie, it looked so miserable out there in the rain. As she looked on, the fowl impatiently tapped its beak against her window. Without so much as a thought for her own safety, Amber hastened over and undid the latch to let it in. Sure enough, the bird hopped inside. Crow? She yawned the word, her panic briefly abating. Is that you? The raven ruffled its feathers indignantly, arched its neck, and shot her a nasty call. Not quite. Naruto's voice reached her a heartbeat later. Though the bird's beak didn't move, they rang clear as day in her mind. Could a bird look smug? This one was doing a remarkable job of it, despite its lack of lips. Realization broke like the dawn, and she stabbed an incredulous finger at the little avian currently squatting on her rug. Are you how? She sputtered. Surprised? Naruto raised a wing and preened himself. Thought you might be. Amber was. Very much so. Since when were you able to do that? Since a few hours ago? The bird shrugged, as it shook the rain from its coat like a dog. Tried stretching my soul out while you were asleep. He flared his wings like a proud phoenix as she balked at him. I saw this bird out in the rain and I felt bad for the little bugger, so I tried touching him through the window. Then this happened. Pretty neat, huh? Amber's jaw clicked open. You're so? So? The bird blinked back. You're so cute. Why hey. Now it was Naruto's turn to squawk as she reached down and scooped his little body up into her arms. He made a show of ruffling his feathers as she cradled him against her bosom, but he didn't struggle overmuch when she held him, though Amber was sure he could have. Didn't make his protest any quieter though. A chorus of angry cawing reached her ears as his wings buffeted her. Put me down. I will not. The fall maiden cooed. And keep quiet. You're going to wake half the dorm. When he did as she bade, she padded back to the bed and sat down, taking him into her lap. We'll have to find you a better body though. She hummed as she stroked his feathers. You'd make a good scout like this, but you can't fight. About that, the raven's head whipped around. I've got a few ideas. Might not like 'em. They're pretty out there. Tell you what, she granted. Prove me wrong, then. If you can manage to hurt me like through my aura, we'll find you another body. I dunno. What's wrong? She prodded his head. Chicken? Naruto ruffled his feathers and shot her the blackest of looks. Say that again. Ha! Victory! Amber tickled his chin with a pleased purr. Aw, what's the little birdie gonna do? Naruto whirled around in her arms and flung himself at her in a swirl of dark feathers, talons bared and beak open wide to bite. The attack was so sudden, so abrupt, that Amber found herself caught off guard. She yelped and flailed backward as the avian missile struck her in the chest. 10 arms pinwheeled and flailed to find purchase in the air. Naruto saw her moment of weakness for what it was and launched himself at her face this time, mighty talons latching onto her hair as his beak tapped against her head. Aura flared angrily and Amber yelped, bereft of balance. His wings beat and pulled, yanking her backward. In her panic, she defeated herself and toppled off the bed. Naruto released her hair and flew back to the bed with a triumphant cackle. When there, he immediately staked his claim by planting a clawed foot on her pillow. Dark wings flared as he crowed his victory to the heavens. A bird could not grin, but Amber suspected his soul was smiling. She pouted at him. That's not fair. You cheated. His words only cemented her suspicions. Caw, motherfucker. The door to Beacon's morgue creaked open with a ponderous squeal of rusty hinges. Amber winced with every inch as she followed the mortician inside. Right this way, my lady, Naruto tittered softly in her arms. She wanted to throttle the little birdie bastard. Never mind this my lady nonsense everyone seemed to be giving her. She didn't like the idea of being surrounded by dead bodies. Least of all dead bodies laid out on cold, metal tables with next to nothing to preserve their modesty. Were it not for the doctor's insistence that they were quite dead, she wouldn't be here at all. I don't like this, she hissed softly. Why are we doing this again? Because you lost the bet. Naruto shot back. And this is the quickest way to find a body, Amber whined through her teeth. But corpses, come on now, don't make that sound. He cawed in her arms. It's not like we're breaking any laws here. Technically they weren't. Beacon had taken custody of the white fan corpses for reasons that Ozpin had yet to explain to her, reasons she didn't understand and wasn't inclined to question. Perhaps he intended to release them to their families or barring that, simply have them buried discreetly. Who knew? Regardless, his oversight helped them for the time being. She told the mortician that she wanted to inspect said corpses for clues. It was a flimsy excuse that couldn't possibly hold water, but no one wanted to question the girl who lived. She was the hero of Beacon, the apple of Vale's eye. To them, she could do no wrong. The man standing before here didn't seem an exception to that rule. The man in charge was a spindly-looking fellow with dark hair, a bushy black mustache. She didn't recognize him. Perhaps he'd been hired on by Ozpin while she'd been in a coma. Praise be to you. The man made some strange sign with his fingers and left them to their task with a chuckle. I'll be in my office if you need me. Yup. Naruto sighed. We definitely started a cult. Oh, get out of there already. Naruto leaped out of the raven's little body with a sigh and the bird went limp in her arms. For once, Amber found she could see him. Or through him, rather. Strange. One might think gazing at a ghost would be a little more terrifying. But this wasn't a ghost, not really. She was simply staring at the manifestation of the blonde soul, thinking that helped to quell her nerves, at least a little. Finale. He groaned, cracking his neck. You have no idea how cramped it was in there. Like stuffing myself into a can. Amber regarded the bird in her arms. Is it dead? Nah, just knocked it out. Her partner drawled as his soul drifted to the first of many covered corpses. We can keep it in a cage for later. Now let's see what's behind door number 1. You're being awfully blasé about this. Am I? Naruto tilted his head and considered her question. Weird. I don't feel any different. Then again, they say death sets you free. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe my morals have changed. Maybe I'm just looking to have some fun while I can. A shrug followed by a sly smile as those keen blue eyes narrowed. I could say the same for you. He waggled his eyebrows at her. You and Coco, eh? She's a screamer. I had to knock myself out just to ignore all that noise. Amber grabbed a clipboard and launched it at his head. It sailed right through him with nary a sound and clattered to the floor. Naruto touched his chin. You know, dying might have changed me a little after all. Never would have said that before. Free of inhibition, perhaps. He was becoming an utter pervert. Look, the thing is, if I let myself stay mad about this, I wouldn't be me. He swirled past another corpse on a table, shaking his head as he saw the extent of its injuries alongside a missing leg. I'm not gonna let this keep me down. Might as well have some fun while I can. But you are angry, she pointed out. Oh, I'm livid. He granted her a grin. But I'm saving my anger for that golden bastard. Once we find a way to get my original body back, I'm gonna find him. Then, I'ma kick his ass. A spectral fist slapped into an incorporeal palm as he leveled himself out. Until then, I want to enjoy this new life while I can. Who knows how long it'll last. Amber had the feeling she wouldn't get anything more out of him today. Naruto was open with his secrets, but it always felt like he was holding something back. She didn't much relish the idea of fighting the god of light, but she couldn't deny that it had to be done. Gods live to meddle. While the god of darkness might nominally be on their side, there was no way of knowing if he'd stand up against his brother. Something must be done, but she wasn't quite sure what. For now? She just wanted to get this ghastly task over with. Raid a morgue for bodies, he said. It'll be easy, he said. Lies, she said. Bingo. Naruto found one and dove into one with a grin. This one looks intact. So? Amber hazarded a guess into the silence that followed. Did it work? A moment of tense silence passed through the morgue. And then, Ilithy 3 of Hayek. Like clockwork, the pale corpse of Adam Taurus jerked up right off the table with a lurching gasp. Amber felt the moment that it did, for Naruto's soul was still bound to hers, but the loose connection between them became strained for an instant, like trying to suck air through a straw. She took a moment to catch her breath and steady herself as she felt it snap back. And with it came embarrassment. Don't scare me like that. Sorry, not sorry. But this I can use. Naruto's grin framed by Adam's face reminded her of a shark. Young, strong, and most importantly, male. He kicked the sheet away with a flourish and stood. His new body made the motion look positively menacing. Missing an eye and all, but still. It'll do, he laughed with the terrorist's voice and stretched. HRMPH, kinda stiff. Might dye the hair. Then again, a pale hand rose to thumb his chin. I always wanted to be a redhead, maybe I'll keep it. Why do you think? He struck a pose and flexed. Do I look good? Naruto, no. Amber giggled despite herself. You can't keep that one. Blake will kill you. Or worse, she'll think you're Adam, back from the dead. Not if I kiss the Shnee. He grumbled. Her face turned scarlet. Drop it. Fine, fine. His lone eye rolled in exasperation. Spoilsport. Adam's corpse went limp. Not a heartbeat later, Emerald stood up. Huh. Red eyes glanced down. She's got a nice set of tits. Who would have thought? No. Amber stomped a foot on the ground. Not that one either. Pick something else, blast you. Why though? Naruto pointedly ignored her. This is useful. He discarded Emerald like an old suit and hopped back into Adam's body. The big guy said something about splitting my soul. Not sure how I feel about that though, Amber sniffed. I am not carting off corpses for you. Bah, you're no fun. A sudden commotion from just outside the morgue claimed their attention. Naruto stiffened, and Amber with him. One of them cursed. She wasn't sure if it was her or him. Before either could think to further react, much less formulate a plan to this sudden crisis, the door crashed open and they found themselves exposed. In hindsight, it hadn't been a very good plan from the outset. Neither had even stopped to consider the repercussions of their actions, much less running off to a room full of corpses, let alone the attention it might attract. They'd hoped the chaos of Beacon's recovery would provide a smokescreen for their actions. A cover of sorts. How wrong they'd been. Strong they may well be, but clever they were not. I thought it odd that you'd come down here without my permission, but what devilry is this? Ah, bugger. Naruto grunted with Adam's voice. Headmaster Ozpin balked back at them in quiet dismay, one hand planted firmly against the now open door, while the other grasped his cane with white knuckles. Said cane clattered out of his grasp as he saw the two of them. Glinda Goodwitch stood behind him, looking as though she'd seen a ghost. Ozpin coughed. Blinked. Cleaned his spectacles. Blinked again. Only then, when he was certain his eyes weren't playing tricks on him, did he press a hand to his temple and exhale softly. Well, he said less than eloquently. This was not how I envisioned my morning. Would you care to explain this, Amber? Amber dared to risk a glance over shoulder at Adam's still standing corpse. Naruto waved cheekily back at him with the man's arm. No? She squeaked the word out pitifully. I'm afraid that's not a request. Busted. Lies will leave you lonely. The god of light wasn't a sore loser. Anyone who said otherwise was a filthy heretic, false god, one of his bloody brother's new followers, or some ghastly combination of those three. As a god, he was the epitome of calm. He honored his agreements. He was good. Kind. Reasonable. He did not act like a petty brat when his brother bested him. He did not lash out like some petulant child when someone got the better of him. He certainly didn't curse those who got the better of him, least of all a certain blonde. He didn't mind when said blonde pulled one over on him and found a way around said curse. This didn't bother him. Not at all. It didn't bother him. It didn't bother him. It certainly didn't bother him. It bothered him a lot. Blasted cycle-defying mortal. Suffice to say, the god of light was displeased. Nay, displeasure went well beyond what he was experiencing in this moment. Anger radiated from his very pore as he hung in the darkness of space, a blazing beacon for all to see. Golden fists clenched ramrod straight at his sides, trembling while he struggled to restrain himself. One had but to look down at the world of remnant below to see why. How quickly the tide had turned. So much for the constancy of mortals, their hearths and their hearts. He couldn't even go down there and kill the little shit himself, not with the agreement in place. The twitching intensified as he watched the scene play out beneath him. Now it seemed even Ozma had forsaken him. His twitching intensified. The god of darkness was nowhere to be seen, still glut on his recent victories and basking in the knowledge that he'd created a cult. He wouldn't show himself. Why should he? His brother knew that to do so now would only start a war. He made no appearance. There was no need. Their pact might be strained, but it wasn't imperiled. Not yet. He wouldn't take that first step. But at this rate, it soon would be. Left in the void, the god of light twitched. So be it then, he wasn't a sore loser. No. Not at all. Not in the least. If his dear brother wanted to choose a champion for himself, then so would he, someone malleable, one not swayed by the god of darkness, nor the maiden he chosen. One who would feel indebted to him. One who revered his godliness, and above all, someone who wouldn't betray him. He cast his gaze down on Remnant, and considered it for a moment. His eye pierced through heaven and earth, through time itself, through the past, through the present and through the future. He beheld both the living and the dead alike, those who had left the cycle, and those who had yet to return to it. And why not? If his beloved brother was so keen on bending the rules, then could he not do the same? Finally, he saw something that suited his needs. No. Someone. He peered into their mind and knew them. A peerless warrior, a hunter beyond compared, possessed of unique and powerful skills. With but a thought, he reached out and touched their soul with his presence. Rise, my child. For you are chosen. In hindsight, the god of light really didn't choose his champion all that well. He should have vetted them better. That was his own fault. Gods are many things. Capricious, generous, and stubborn. On occasion, they have even been known to be kind, from time to time. But they are seldom wise. Somewhere, somewhen, somehow? Silver eyes opened with a groan. I'm alive? Did I hear thunder just now? Amber craned her head toward the window, frowning at the sunny afternoon skies beyond. There wasn't a cloud in sight. Must have been her imagination. And yet it sounded close, perilously so. Against her better judgment, she found herself peering down into the abyss. Well, not an abyss, really. But it felt like one from up here. You really could see everything from Ozpin's tower, though. Her fingers twitched at her sides and she longed to fly again, leap from the tower, and into the unknown. She hadn't dared try since the incident. She longed to now. To use her powers and soar among the clouds, free as a bird. Besides, she had bigger concerns at the moment. Would you kindly stop poking me? Naruto's outraged squawk brought her back to reality. We've been at this for hours. Yes, I wonder why that is. Ozpin hadn't condemned them for their duplicity. There was no pain, no punishment, not even the slightest word of rebuke on his part. He didn't need them. Instead, he gave her the look. It made Amber wanted to crawl in a hole. That, or swear up a thunderstorm. She longed to rage and snarl and fling a thunderbolt right between the headmaster's eyes, if only to wipe that look off his face. Of course, she couldn't do any of that, because she knew killing him wouldn't work. Not that she would, of course, even if a small part of her longed to. Honestly, the man wielded guilt like a mace. Naruto, however? Perhaps it was the nature of the god's curse. Perhaps he'd slipped up and left a loophole. Perhaps this was the god of darkness meddling. Regardless, he wasn't tongue-tied anymore. At least, he wasn't when it came to Ozpin. Oh, how she wished he was. That would have spared her all manner of indignity. Instead, she had to sit here and sulk as they continued their tests. Flanked by Crow Branwen and Glinda Goodwitch, Ozpin gazed at the young man before him. Said youth crossed his arms in angry defiance. For the last time, no. I'm not giving up this body. I won it by rights of conquest. And there was the Goliath in the room. Or a spirit, she supposed in Naruto's case. Zombie? Ghost? Bah, whatever. Now, let's be reasonable about this. Ozpin offered. Surely we can find you another one. Reasonable? Me? Naruto twisted Adam's face into a scowl. It suited the body he was possessing to AT. I was reasonable before. I died an unreasonable death. Far as I'm concerned, reason hasn't gotten me very far in this world. A pale hand slashed through the air. Besides, Amber and I earned these kills. Even this body, that Ozpin killed, only died because we sent you away. This guy's strong. Really strong. He gestured wildly with a forearm and produced a sizable divot in the wall he struck. I'm not letting you lock me into some weakling's body. Glinda's fixed him with a steely glare. Be that as it may, you're wearing the face of a known terrorist. A man who has already been declared deceased. And? Naruto tilted his head. Would you have us claim Amber can raise the dead too? Why not? The blonde's currently a redhead's smile took on a taunting edge. I've heard stranger claims. They're calling her a goddess. No. Amber buried her head into her hands and made a keening sound to hide her shame. Don't remind me. Ozpin's right eye began to twitch. You're making this unnecessarily difficult, am I? I'm sorry. Naruto granted him a saccharine grin. It's not like I went through a war, got cursed by a god, stuffed into Amber's body and had to fight a crazy chick with superpowers or anything. But that's totally my fault, right? She and I had to pull your sorry asses out of the fire. Definitely our fault. Amber preened with a hint of vindictive glee as every adult in the room winced. To be fair, I wasn't involved in any of that. Crow offered. No, you were too late to save Amber the first time. Fair point. The old bird grumbled. Naruto wasn't finished. It's certainly our fault that we took back said powers from said psycho and fought off an invasion, yeah? His smile took on a vicious edge as he stalked forward, looking so much like the monster he currently possessed. I mean, who else can you possibly blame? His hands came down on Ozpin's desk with a harsh crunch. I'm sure you vetted Cinder and her cronies real good before you let them into Beacon. Glinda's crop struck her open palm with a resounding thwack. You will speak to the headmaster with respect. If you're trying to intimidate me, don't bother. Naruto clicked his tongue right back at her and didn't falter one bit. Tsunade did it better, and she didn't need a dinky little thing like that. A smirk curled his scarred face as his lone eye drifted down, and swung back up to meet those scathing green orbs. Had a bigger rack, too. Her tits would blow yours right out of the water. Glinda's glasses slipped down the bridge of her nose. I beg your pardon? Amber wanted to plant his face in the floor. Crow guffawed. I take it back. I like this guy. He's got balls of steel, because I have to. The possessor flung a finger at Goodwitch. I've had to fight for every inch in this damn place. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a good, male body around here? Harder than you think. The crow in Amber's arms uttered a sleepy caw, and for a moment, Naruto's expression turned sheepish. Well, the little guy doesn't count. Ozpin blinked at him, shook his head, and mastered himself once more. Nevertheless, that doesn't change the fact that Adam Taurus is very much dead. Technically, he isn't. Amber jabbed a finger into Naruto's battered chest. He's alive while Naruto's I guess you could call it wearing him? Go on, give it a listen. She laid her ear there for emphasis when no one challenged her. Heart's beating again and everything. Don't say it like that. The blonde groused. You're making me feel like Orochimaru here. I don't need the reminder. Truly? Ozpin perked up for a different reason. Oh sure, that got his attention. He's alive? Touch me and I'll scream, old man. Naruto warned. A brow rose. Glinda, if you would? Reluctantly, the blonde approached Naruto. The ghost offered her Adam's wrist, and she touched 2 fingers to it, as though he were some horrid germ. Her eyes widened and she snatched hold of his other arm instead, as if he tricked her somehow. Naruto's expression was just the right shade of smug throughout the entire ordeal. See? He ripped his wrist away. Told you. And what of the deceased soul? Glinda posited. What about it? Naruto's lone eye squinted in honest confusion. There's no one else in here but me. This body still has a shadow of its power, semblance, muscle memory, that sort of thing. I know how to use a sword, and I've only touched one before this. He paused, tilting his horned head as said I closed. Ugh, some lingering memories and emotions too. Rather not deal with those. His lips twisted in a grimace. This guy didn't just love Blake, he was obsessed with her. That's impossible. Glinda looked at him like he'd grown a second head. Aura is the soul. You can't possibly have his. Her words trailed off as she struggled to master herself, and failed miserably. Amber almost pitied her. Miss Goodwitch was always so stern, so composed, so untouchable. To see that she had emotions like anyone else, that she could be startled like a normal person. Well, you learn something new every day. I can prove it. Naruto stepped to her. Give me a sword and attack me, she scoffed. We're hardly about to arm you. Oh, is the widow witch scared? Insolent boy. She hissed. Frigid hag. Alright, maybe Naruto was enjoying this a little too much for his own good. Amber couldn't blame him. The poor ghost had already been battered around for several hours now. His temper was fraying even before that. Now Glinda had gone and flipped his switch altogether, leaving them at an impasse. Ozpin broke it with a sigh. Crow, the left drawer in my desk if you would. There's an old longsword in there, sheath and all. Will that suffice? Yup. Naruto grinned. It made Adam's wounded face twist unpleasantly. Do I even want to know why you've got a sword in there, Oz? No, the headmaster shook his head. You do not. Sure enough, Crow found the weapon in the name drawer. It was an ancient and beautiful thing, bearing a silver hilt embossed with blue leather, blade trapped in an emerald green sheath. Somehow, Amber wasn't at all surprised by the color. That really did seem to be Ozpin's favorite. He accepted from Crow, rose from his desk, and walked to Naruto's side. I am trusting you with this, he warned, presenting it to Naruto with open palms. I would ask you not to break it. Sure thing. The blonde grunted. He accepted, and drew it in a single fluid movement. Amber. Hit me. The fall maiden hesitated as he turned to face her. You sure? Don't worry, this body's sturdy. Have a little faith. Amber slammed her fist into the blade before she could think to hold back. Naruto grunted in surprise. Aura shrieked in protest. Not a moment later his stolen body pulsed red from horns to hair as he absorbed the impact and bent one knee back, sheathing his blade in a crimson swathe. Pearly white teeth flashed in a grimace as he struggled to contain the force, then gave up entirely. Old man! He barked the words. Do me a favor and block this. As you wish. Ozpin raised an arm with a faint smile and a faint green sheen enveloped his limb. A flash of red slammed into him a moment later as Naruto unleashed his attack. A crescent of scarlet light slammed into his Jaden barrier, spraying smoke in every direction. Aura sparked for but a moment as the impact died. Someone opened a window and the smoke drifted away, and an immortal man lowered his smoking hand with a smile. Fascinating. Ozpin all but breathed the word. You really can use his semblance. Perhaps I might have been too quick to judge you after all. Glinda recoiled as if she'd been slapped. Sir, you cannot be serious. Oh, but I am, Glinda. He looked like an eager child. Don't you see? This can change everything. Never mind the practical applications, but someone who cannot die, someone who can snatch up the bodies of the fallen, and use them as his own. Amber and Naruto coughed in unison. My apologies. The headmaster blew out a sigh. I got ahead of myself for a moment there. Crow wrinkled his nose. Not sure I like this. It feels dirty. We are waging war against the greatest evil mankind has ever known. Ozpin slammed a hand against his desk. Sometimes we must dirty our hands so that others can keep theirs clean. He sagged a moment later and sagged back in his chair as the strength fled from him. I strongly suspect that, were it not for this young man's intervention, Amber and I would not be sitting here today. I dare say Beacon would have fallen. Glinda balked. Sir, come on, Oz. Ain't that a bit of a stretch? No. As Amber looked on, a haunted look flashed across the headmaster's visage. In that moment, she glimpsed the weight of his years. This body of mine has grown old and Cinder was a powerful opponent. I am not certain I could have bested her, and I am no longer at my peak. I haven't been for quite some time. Perhaps, had I a younger vessel, or even, nope. Naruto vetoed him immediately, slamming his arms into an X shape before Ozpin could ask the question that was on everyone's mind. Not trying it. I don't think I even can possess a living person. Amber's the exception to the rule, and that's only because I'm bound to her. Not a chance in hell am I putting someone else through that. Could you not try on a willing host? The former shinobi bristled. No one wants to be possessed. Crow? Would you be willing to volunteer yourself? The old bird balked. Not a chance in hell. I'll double your alcohol rations for the next year. Ozpin countered. Done. All eyes turned to the shinobi's spirit. He said not a word, but Amber heard the sound of grinding teeth. Naruto wasn't merely angry, he was genuinely outraged at the idea of leaping into another person. He looked all of an instant from busting a vein in his remain eye. That was a good thing, right? It meant for all his wisecracks, he had a good moral compass. Naruto. She touched his arm. Please? For me? Fiyin. With nary a sound, Naruto drew himself out of Adam's body. It collapsed bonelessly to the floor, leaving the adults to startle in surprise. Glinda yelped. Crow looked like he'd seen. Ozpin merely blinked. Amber was slightly less surprised when her partner immediately started swearing an angry blue streak in Ozpin's direction. The tips of her urns burned a bright pink. For someone who had once been a paragon of goodness, Naruto knew more than a few foul words. Where did he go? You can't see him? She blinked. Or hear him? I'm afraid not. Ozpin shook his head. I can certainly sense something, but his words are lost to me. Probably for the best that. Tell the birdbrain to brace himself. Amber rounded on him. Naruto says brace. Crow tensed reflexively. Is it too late to change my MOW? Amber didn't see the moment Naruto darted forward, but Crow certainly felt it, because both the blonde and the hunter crashed apart, as though someone had flung them across the room. Crow slammed into the ground and poor Naruto spun through the air, reaching for a sword he no longer before he steadied himself in the air. Amber nearly reached for him before he swam back to her side. Yeah, that doesn't work. No kidding. Crow croaked. It hurt like hell. He looked up and stared Naruto dead in the face. He'd heard him. Seen him. Oh, bugger. His words were a hiss. You weren't kidding. He's right there. The kid's real. You can see him? Ozpin followed his gaze, frowning at the air. How is that possible? You couldn't a moment ago. Naruto's ghost flipped him off. The sage didn't bat an eyelash, and for a moment, Amber wondered if he was lying. Surely he could see that. No man alive could ignore a lone finger salute. Not even Ozpin. Crow snorted, confirming his words. Would you be willing to try the same on me? Ozpin offered. Naruto balked. That sounds like a terrible idea. Amber conveyed as much. Humor me. Enough. Glinda slammed her heel down, startling the lot of them. Sir, don't know what's going on here, but I won't be part of it. This is sick. It's wrong. When no one denied it, she shrank back a step. Aura is sacred. She all but cried the words, gripping her crop tightly in both hands. Souls are sacred. We cannot simply cross this line for the sake of convenience. Ozpin rose from his chair. Glinda, if you would simply listen. No! She flung her weapon down at his feet. Enough is enough. I won't be privy to this madness. Naruto vanished in a bolt of light and slammed into her exposed back. Glinda stiffened with a yelp as her measured retreat turned into something else entirely. This time, there was no resistance whatsoever when Naruto vanished between her shoulders. She stumbled forward half a step and smacked her head against the wall. Ozpin reached out to his deputy. Glinda? She turned to face them. Well, hot damn. Blue eyes blinked back them in place of green and a lazy grin greeted the world, confirming Amber's suspicions. I didn't think that would work. I meant to give her a push. Didn't think I'd be able to slide in here so easily. And no, that's not a pun. She turned her hands over, frowning. Wonder why I was able to do it with her, and not Crow, said man whistled. Ozpin's jaw clicked open. Amber reached over to shut it. Who? The ancient headmaster swallowed thickly. Who am I speaking to right now? Glinda planted a hand on her hip and arched an eyebrow in a way she'd not done since she was a teenager. I'll give you 3 guesses, she drawled. First 2 don't count. And she's not serious about quitting. Kinda sad, really? He shook his head and shrugged. Just being pissy because Ironwood hasn't noticed how she really feels. Oops. The smile became a wince as he touched a hand to Glinda's forehead. Oh geez. Shunta did that. She's pissed to all hell and pushing me out. Leaving now. Glinda collapsed with a gasp, eyes rolling back in her head. Crow dove to catch her. Was that really necessary? Depends. Naruto's ghost regarded him bleakly. Is she out cold? Crow checked her over. Yes? Then it's worth it. He snapped. Put those 2 louts together before one of them blows a gasket. Blue eyes turned to Ozpin. Alright, old man, since you're so eager for this, let's see how you like it. Here he comes. Amber chimed. Ozpin spread his arms wide to welcome him. By all means. Naruto shot forward like a golden meteor. Ozpin gasped, doubled over for a moment, then found his footing again. His cane clattered to the floor, forgotten as he stood still. For a fleeting moment, his right eye pulsed wild and blue, yet other remained gray. 2 voices spoke at once. Oh. The air didn't shimmer. It boiled with power. Fire flickered at Ozpin's fingertips, and an unseen breeze swept through the room. Then something smashed them apart. Arg! Naruto jerked back into spectral form as if he'd been scalded. Nope. Never doing that again. How do you even live with that much information? Years of patience and centuries of regret. The old man replied as the blonde regarded him with baleful eyes. Ah. There you are. He met his stare evenly. I can see you now, and I could ask the same of you. So much information I only saw a glimpse, and yet. A spark of youth flashed through his gray eyes. I have so many questions. What is chakra? What are these seals you've seen? How do you use them? Naruto drew back. Wait. You saw some of my memories. Indeed. Ozpin laughed. Actually laughed. It was a glimpse, but I'm sure you saw some of mine as well. There was a decided spring in his step as he moved forward to clasp the boy's arm, uncaring as his hand passed through it. Yet you've given me a greater gift than you could ever know. What cannot be destroyed can be sealed. Oz? Crow balked. You want to elaborate there? Sounding a little cryptic to me. What's this about sealing? All in good time, Crow. All in good time. Which begs the question, what to do with the 2 of you? Amber and Naruto tensed as the old sage regarded them once more. Amber wondered if she should be afraid. Ozpin looked happy. Downright delirious with glee. Surely that was a good thing. Wasn't it? And yet something in this sudden joy of his set off all manner of alarm bells in the back of her head. He'd worn a similar smile when she'd first become the Fall Maiden. But this smile was brighter. Happier. Pure. Like a man lost at sea, one who had finally seen land, someone who had been fighting against darkness for so long, only to be given a light. Rest assured, I'm not going to punish you. He waved a hand as the 2 teens regarded him. On the contrary, you deserve a reward for bringing this to my attention. I believe you wanted better weapons and armor for yourself, Amber? You'll have the pick of the lot. His gaze swept to Naruto. And I will give you everything you need and more. He promised, stooping to reclaim his cane once more. Judging by that look, I'd say you saw her. Here at last his gaze hardened back into that of the headmaster. Amber knew. You know the danger she represents. She must be stopped. Look, I ain't denying that, but Naruto's gaze strayed back to Adam's body, and you shall have it. Ozpin reassured him, answering his unspoken question. I would only ask that you give me a day to prepare it properly for you. Then we can leave. By all means, Ozpin said. Take the rest of the day off. Amber didn't need to be told twice. Everything was happening too quickly, too fast for her to keep up with. Muttering a quick farewell, she turned and strode toward the elevator at a brisk trot. Naruto drifted after, sparing a final glance for Ozpin. She saw it. Her finger all but stabbed the button, sending the doors crashing shut behind them. To Crow's credit, he held his tongue until the elevator doors closed. Oz, you can't be serious. This is wrong. I've never been more serious about anything in my life, Crow. He cut down his protest immediately with a beatific smile. This young man is a gift. A hero. He could be anything we need him to be. An eternal ally, a bulwark to fall back upon. The ultimate weapon against Salem. Doesn't sound like he wants to be a weapon. Crow grouses. Oh, that? A slip of the tongue, nothing more. Crow stole one final look at the elevator. Summer was a weapon too, Oz. That went well? I'm not sure it did. Amber shook her head as she stalked away from the tower, leaving Naruto to drift after her. You lost your body. Sorry, for now. Something in his smile told her he hadn't revealed all his tricks to Ozpin. I can always steal it back later, when I want. The Fall Maiden cast one final glance back at the tower and shivered. Ozpin wants to use you. You realize that, right? Course I do. A translucent blue eyes regarded her as he folded spectral arms behind his head. He can try all he wants. I'm done being a weapon. I'm me. No one else. Good. Maybe he wasn't as lost as she thought. You shouldn't let anyone control you, he chuckled. You certainly don't. A spark of warmth shot through Amber's cheeks, and for a moment, just a moment, she forgot that she couldn't hold his hand. She reached for him before she could think to stop herself, longing to thread her fingers with his. Instead, her palm passed through his arm. Naruto's head turned to regard her with a rueful smile, and fresh heat rose to her cheeks. Sorry, she whispered. He dove back into her body for a moment, and she felt something warm caress her mind. Don't be. A beat of awkward silence passed between them as he withdrew. Amber felt the urge to fly again and repressed it. Doing so hurt her soul. This was the reason she'd left Beacon behind. Everything was too controlled here. She missed the freedom of the open roads, helping everyone she encountered, sure, but on her terms. Not Ozpin's. Oz would have her all but locked away within Beacon, never leaving. He meant well, there could be no denying that, but the manic gleam in his eye back there, it frightened her more than words. Oz was good. Or his intentions were, but if he had Naruto's power at his fingertips, maybe we should leave. She whispered. You want us to leave Beacon? Naruto cocked his head at her. Why? You're possessing people and corpses. She turned an arched brow on him. Folks won't look kindly on that. I don't care what they think. No, you don't. She gave him a sad smile. I know you don't. Although, speaking of corpses, no. Amber flicked a finger at him when that smile turned predatory. I know what you're up to. We are not using Adam's body to infiltrate the White Fang. Absolutely not. Why not? He challenged, drifting forward to confront her. We'd have them eating each other alive in a week. I saw his memories. So many bases. So little time. Adam twisted good people into something evil. We should stop it. That's what heroes do, right? I'm sure if I just talk to them. No. Naruto folded his arms defiantly. Blake would do it. Well, I'm not Blake, Buster. Her finger passed through his chest. And don't you forget it. Then what about Salem? I don't want to fight Salem. Amber stopped walking and flung up her arms. I don't know what you saw, but she's a monster. I'm not even sure we can kill her. His silence alarmed her and roused her suspicion in equal measure. He couldn't be hiding something from her. No. Surely not. Naruto, she swallowed. When you possessed Ozpin, what did you see? A few things. He hedged, looking away from her. Like what? Amber whispered the words. If I tell you, you'll be upset. His jaw clicked shut and her ire rose to meet it. For a moment Amber genuinely thought they might come to blows over it. Well, they couldn't physically fight, but Naruto's sullen expression promised he was prepared to take any insult she might give and weather the verbal storm all the same. She made a face and reared back, ready to speak. Hey, look! A familiar voice called. Amber. Listen. Over here. Ah, crap baskets. Naruto dove back into the bird's body with a soft hiss as Team RWBY approached. Amber wasn't sure if she should be grateful for the interruption or furious that it happened in the first place. But you couldn't be angry with Ruby Rose for long. It just wasn't possible. She was just too adorable. The spry little girl saw her first and all but bolted her side in a cloud of crimson petals. Who are you talking to? Oh. She sputtered. Just my raven. Neat. Ruby flitted past her to look upon said bird. Naruto's avian body bristled in her arms. Nothing to see here. You have a pet bird? Cool. Yang flashed her a grin. We were just about to have lunch. Wanna join us? Her words trailed off as she beheld the bird in her arms and those lilac eyes. Look at the widow birdie. Aren't you just precious? You being good for your mom? Naruto went curiously still in Amber's grasp. I'm not a baby, oh. Hey. He blinked as Yang scratched under his chin. That actually feels pretty nice. When Yang tried to pull away, he grabbed her hand with his beak and dragged her fingers back. I didn't say stop. Heh. Feisty. I like that. That, Blake frowned, is not a normal bird. They don't act like that even if it is a bit of a runt like Ruby. Runt? Naruto flared his wings with an outraged call. You wanna go, kitty cat? Bring it. Hey. Ruby cried. Don't be mean to the poor thing. It's cool. Can I hold him? No, sure. Amber handed him off to the smaller girl with a vicious smile. Be careful though, he's shy. Naruto absolutely hissed. I'm putting birdseed in your bed. There. To her credit, Ruby proved herself a capable handler. She didn't yank the raven away as Amber feared she might, and she was careful not to jostle him. Tucking him into her arms, she began to run her hand over his little head and back, careful not to ruffle his feathers. Naruto cocked his head, beak clicking open in surprise before he snapped it shut again. I like this one, he declared imperiously as she patted his head with infinite care. Hey, Amber. Can we keep her? Yang thumbed her nose. Yeah, Rubes was always good with animals. Just don't let him near Zvi. Amber blinked. What's a Zvi? Our dog. The blonde brawler beamed. He likes to chase birds and the occasional cat, Blake hissed. Naruto caught in outrage, even as Ruby struggled to clam him. The faunus blinked. I changed my mind. Can we keep him? Avian eyes sparkled with mischief. Yes. No. Weiss ruined it. Ruby, put that thing down at once. You don't know where that filthy foul's been. Amber winced and against her better judgment, looked down. Naruto was still safe and secure in Ruby's arms, but something in his silence told her that wouldn't last. He didn't ruffle his feathers, didn't struggle, didn't even caw. No, it was the silence that terrified her. Beady red eyes locked onto Weiss' Schnee with unerring intent and accuracy, so much so that her entire team took a single step backward. Doomed. He rasped words that only Amber could hear. Doomed is this Schnee. Retribution is not choice, but divine wind. You shall not see the calm that doth chase it. His entire body tensed, a spring coiling in preparation to strike. Weiss failed to see her peril. Why is he looking at me like that? Ruby yelped as his beak bit into her arm, and for a moment, her fingers slackened. Naruto took the opportunity for what it was. He launched himself at Weiss like a feathery missile. You will die, Weiss yelped as his talons found her hair. Get him off me. She wailed, arms flailing like a pinwheel. Get him off. Geez, that thing's vicious. Yang crowed ha, as they entered the cafeteria. You really need to train him better, ouch. You little shit. He bit me. Serves you right, Blondie. You're colluding with the enemy. A dog. Why, I never. You're a traitor to blondes everywhere. Amber did not laugh. She certainly didn't giggle. Anyone who said otherwise was a traitor. Ignorance was bliss, and she'd take this secret to her grave. Naruto seemed content to milk this pampering and preening as long as he could. Now secure in Blake's arms, he nevertheless alternated between withering glances at Weiss and Yang as the fauness held him. Really, that was something of a miracle there. They'd gone from loathing one another to uniting over their shared hatred toward Ruby's dog. Amber wasn't sure if she should laugh or cry. Didn't stop her from getting a parting shot in, though. Behave, Mr. Feathers. Feathers? Naruto gave an outraged squawk. You are not naming me that. I think he likes the name. Amber snorted. Yeah, Ruby agreed. Just listen to him. Traitors, the lot of you. Amber smashed into Yang's back and stopped short. What's wrong? Why are we stopping? Maybe the CAF ain't such a good idea today. Sure enough, she looked up, suddenly realizing just how silent everyone was. Tense didn't even begin to describe the state of the cafeteria. Countless eyes regarded the five of them, but mostly her, with something akin to awe as they approached. Others looked upon her with fear. Still more gazed at her with distaste, scorn even. Amber knew the reason, even as a tiny part of her wilted beneath the weight of their combined stares. This was her fault. Cinder had attacked Beacon to get at her powers. Not Ozpin, not the students, not even the relic. Not really. Her loved ones had been lost to hacked Atlas Mechs, Grim, and White Fang alike. Some would always blame her for that, even if they didn't know the whole truth. They were right to cast blame at her feet. The knowledge stung more than it should. Yeesh, Yang muttered in her ear as they took their seats. Tough crowd. Why is everyone looking at us? Not us. Blake murmured, golden eyes shifting to the right. Amber, said Maiden Keen softly, it's my fault. Teams RWBY did their best to act as a buffer against it, bless their little hearts, but there could be no denying the tension still remained all the same. Even their conversation began to feel stilted, and within minutes, the five of them were tucking into their meals in silence. And with each passing moment, Amber's guilt crawled further up her back. It wrapped cold fingers around her throat, strangling what little joy she had. She'd be a fool to think anything would be normal after this, a fool to be happy, a fool. Well, I'm not having this. Naruto growled as he experienced the gamut of her emotions. Cover me. I'll be right back. No, wait. Amber hissed as he started to struggle in Blake's arms. What are you doing? Fixing this shit. You're too depressed. With a mighty caw, Naruto shot into the rafters in a streak of feathers, startling many a student with his sudden flight. As everyone looked on in disbelief, he alighted upon a beam and sat down. Nothing happened. Amber watched him like a hawk as the seconds ticked by, and when disaster didn't follow, she almost dared to hope he wasn't up to something, until he hopped to his feet again. He shifted a little to the left, then the right. There we go. She could hear the smile in his voice. Target in sight. Preparing payload. Too late, Amber realized what he intended. No. He wouldn't. Even he couldn't be that mad. He reared back, spread his wings, for glory. Banzai, and dive-bombed Yang's hair. The howl of rage as he flew past was sweet, sweet music to Amber's ears. Ruby jerked backward, toppling into Weiss and sending the both of them crashing to the floor. Blake gaped. Amber groaned. Yang was Yang. That's it. She slammed a fist into their table, buckling it and launching food in every direction. Come down here, birdbrain. I'll make fried chicken out of ya. A lemon cream pie slammed into Yang's back. More aptly, her already ruined hair. The berserker stiffened and stumbled half a step. Lilac eyes burned red. All right, who's the bitch that threw me? Coco Adele lowered her right arm, still overextended from that powerful throw. Amber winced as she took stock of her old friend. The second year's outfit was covered in ketchup and spilled coffee alike. Her beret? Sopping wet. Her sunglasses? Nowhere to be seen. Her eyes promised only the most painful of deaths, slow, agonizing, miserable death. Do you have, the words themselves were a hiss, any idea? How much this outfit cost? A rare flash of fear flitted across the face of young Xiaolong. Oh shit, there were 3 unspoken rules in Beacon that every student obeyed, from the lowliest first year, to the strongest 4th year, an age-old adage that had lain in place for the last 2 years. You did not spill Coco Adele's expensive, name-brand coffee. You did not call Coco Adele anything resembling a bitch. You did not ruin Coco Adele's outfit. Yang had broken all 3. At once. In unison. There could only one result. Only one fate for her. Yup. Amber smacked her lips. She's boned. Coco reared back and grabbed her bag in one hand, while securing a stiff loaf of bread in the other. The rest of Team CFVY rose behind their leader in flawless unison, securing whatever foodstuffs were on hand. RWBY and JNPR only just now entering the cafeteria saw this and mirrored them, flipping tables for cover as they scrambled to secure their own culinary weapons. Yang snatched up a pair of turkeys and sheathed her fists in them. Amber gulped. Naruto all but cackled at the sight. Perhaps they hadn't thought this through. Maybe they could talk this out. Food fight. Dirty tricks. Power lay in perception. Arthur Watts knew this for a fact. Take the resplendent Beacon Academy for instance. Despite Cinder's best efforts, they were riding quite high in the arena of public opinion at the moment. Not only had they successfully fended off a white fang incursion and captured a notorious criminal, but they had something of a celebrity in their midst. A girl who could raise the dead, working with a spirit. Bah! Ghost stories. There was a scientific reason behind everything. No doubt this was some powerful semblance at work, coupled with her maiden powers. Nothing more, nothing less. Still, Amber's fame was a double-edged sword. Everyone wanted to see the girl who killed the dragon, the girl who lived, their so-called dark goddess of victory. Why, even the girl that was supposedly killed had shown herself to be quite alright. She'd even gone so far as to denounce the cruel criminal calling herself Cinder Fall on live television. Damn Pietro. He shouldn't have been able to repair his daughter that quickly. And yet, not at all was lost. Everyone wanted to be here at Beacon these days, to see Academy that beat back an invasion and slaughtered the White Fang. Beacon thought themselves thorough, screening all applicants and visitors. And yet they had missed him, as they were meant to. All too easy, really. Carefully concealed in a well-placed server room, the man cracked his knuckles and went to work. Now then. He hummed as ring fingers danced across the keyboard. Where are they hiding you, dear Cinder? Arthur Watts was a devious man. Beacon didn't have half the security of Atlas, and he'd broken through their defenses in no time at all. By comparison, this was child's play. It was a simple matter to circumvent their firewalls. Slicing into their system was only moderately difficult. In no time at all he found what he sought. Their mainframe was quite unprotected. Such a shame. There you are. Nothing personal, old friend. He tittered softly to himself. You've simply become a liability. Such a shame what happened to her. The power of the Fall Maiden wrested from her grasp. Her arms lost to her, semblance shattered like a glass slipper. Ironwood had even gone so far as to fit her with a shock collar to prevent any hope of escape. Such a cruel man. If he didn't know better, he'd think he have a kink for that sort of thing. Alas, James Ironwood's heart was as cold as the kingdom he resided in. He didn't even realize he'd dug up all sorts of nasty trauma for the poor girl. You see, Cinderfall was still a danger. A threat even. For while her body may be broken, she still had her mind. She knew several of Salem's secrets, and that could not stand. Now that she knew her days were numbered, she might reveal their queen's schemes out of spite if nothing else. That wouldn't do. Mistral was theirs thanks to that cowardly lion, but Atlas had yet to fall. As had Vacuo. If the world managed to band together against Salem, well, he'd never have his revenge. People weren't machines. They couldn't be hacked. But they could be manipulated. Lied to. Led astray. This was still their game to win. They'd just have to skew the odds a little. Nothing they hadn't done before. Tyrian. He touched a hand to his earpiece. I've found her. Good, good. The man tittered in his ear. I'll be just a moment. Arthur felt his magnificent mustache bristle. Where are you? We need to act quickly. And we will, good doctor. A merry titter answered him. But I saw a girl with silver eyes. Surely our queen will be pleased with her death, no? Oh, very well. What side? There could be no arguing with Kalos when he was like this. But do be quick about it. Cinder must be slain before she speaks. The connection cut with a cackle. Watts leaned back in his chair and rubbed his hands together. Yes, this was still salvageable. All according to plan. A hand tapped at his right shoulder. And what, pray tell, is going according to plan? Watts turned in his chair slowly, already knowing who he would find there. Framed within the doorway, Ozpin smiled back at him, the very picture of serene confidence, as he leaned against his cane. Had that perhaps been the end of it, Arthur might have felt some semblance of confidence. The headmaster of Beacon was not so implacable an opponent by himself. Had he been alone, he might have distracted him and effected him an escape. Hello, Arthur. So nice to see you again. Unfortunately for dear Dr. Watts, Ozpin was not alone. General Ironwood smiled. Metal knuckles crashed into Arthur's face, and his world went black. Cinder lay on her cot and waited for her executioner to come. With each passing second, the clock ticked in her cell, a sullen reminder of her impending doom. That they'd given her one at all told her how little they thought of her. What could she do without her arms? Fat load of nothing, that's what. She couldn't even get this collar off her throat. It brought back painful memories, thoughts she'd rather go without. At least they weren't shocking her with it every damn second. An irritated growl forced itself past her teeth as she glowered up at the ceiling. In truth, the identity of her killer no longer mattered to her, so long as someone ended her misery. Be it Ironwood or Ozpin, Tyrian Kalos, or even an angry lynch mob, nothing mattered. She knew death was near. The entire continent of Vale was probably howling for her head, or so she liked to imagine. She would die in the coming days. It was only a matter of when, not if. Be it now, tomorrow, even the day after. There would be a sham trial, of course. Her guilt was beyond question. Her identity would be revealed and she would be paraded through the streets like the criminal was. And then? Then she would be executed. Salem wouldn't save her. Why should she? She had failed. Spectacularly. Her queen no longer had any use for her. She'd be off cultivating another, younger girl, molding her for her own needs. She might even attempt to silence her. The thought alarmed her. She wouldn't be able to fight back. Not as she was now. A child could kill her. Was this her destiny? To die here, alone and forgotten? A traitorous tremble shook her shoulders at the thought. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. It was. She didn't want to die. She wanted to live. Why didn't you say so, dear girl? Cinder rounded on the sound, a scathing retort on her lips. It became a scream. She screamed again. She kept screaming. Well, that's quite rude. Of course, Cinder screamed. Most would shriek when they found a giant purple being with horns, crouched down in her cell. Naked, too. Well, it was more the silhouette of a man than an actual man, and he didn't really have any facial features to speak of, but still. Giant. Glowing. Naked. Man. In her cell. Too close. Way too close. Who are you? She skittered back, neck slamming against the wall. What do you want? What are you doing here? I am the god of darkness, little one. Well. Apparently that was a thing. As to why I am here, well, simply put, my brother's being a bit of he lacked a face by which to convey emotions, but his voice carried a noticeable undercurrent of anger. He went and chose a champion for himself. That horned head tilted, regarding her as one might a small animal. He chose poorly, so now he's herring off to find yet another. That cannot stand. He will have 2 champions. I will have 1. His brow furrowed, and the room itself gave an ominous groan. That is unacceptable. And so I have chosen you. Me? A brow rose. Do you see anyone else here? I don't understand. She mumbled. I've never believed in the gods. You are an outcast. You seek power. I will grant you all that and more. You need only stand with me against my brother. She tucked her knees into her chest. Hesitant, are we? I do not blame you. The ancient being scoffed. Your kind was quite arrogant, even before I wiped you from the face of this world. An almighty palm rose, idly cradling a violet flame within. I sense the same anger and pride in you. Were you not tempered by defeat, we would not be having this conversation. Cinder steeled herself, marshaled her thoughts and willed herself to breathe. She had a bad feeling about this. And who would I be working with? Why, the girl who took your arms, of course. His words were smug. You'll be working most closely with her. Cinder nearly choked on her spit. That little brat? No. Never. This was a trick. How do I know you were enslaved as a child? A purple hand gestured flippantly and stifled the flame, heedless of the snarl she gave. They put a collar on your neck. Your stepmother shocked you every day. You killed her for it. Then you killed the only man to ever care for you. Is that not proof enough? Shall I continue? Cinder went still. No one knew about that night. There had been 4 witnesses. 4 victims. All dead. Her jaw clenched until her teeth ached. She had been powerless once. She was powerless now. If she were to refuse him, she would be killed. She knew it. The entity before her knew it. There was no choice for her here. None at all. Suddenly, the deity tilted its head. Also, you wet the bed until you were 12. Enough. Her face burned with shame. I believe you. Truly? Good. That saves us time. Surely a god was a step up from Salem, she reasoned. They'd cursed her after all. Surely they could protect her. What need had she of maiden's power if she was blessed by a god? That same power had already laid her low before. But what might she yet do if she had it for herself? Ember had called down terrible storms and burned the night black. She had ignored grievous wounds and rained hellfire down on her head, slaughtered her followers with nary a thought. She wanted that power. No, she needed it. What must I do? A mighty limb rose. Shake my hand. Cinder twitched. I don't have hands, you twit. No? His words were supremely smug, drawing a frown from her. Look again. Cinder looked down. She blinked. Once. Twice. Thrice. Oh. Oh. That was certainly something, wasn't it? In place of her ruined stumps, she found herself gazing down at hale and healthy arms, as if she'd never lost them. There was no pain. The god of darkness spoke, and his will was made manifest. She touched a hand to her ruined face and eye, alarmed to find both healthy and whole. Her right hand snapped up and grasped the god's palm. Releasing his hand, Cinder Falls swallowed her pride and knelt before her new master. I'm yours, my lord. She pressed her forehead to the cold floor. Without you, I am nothing. Yeses. Something flashed in his featureless face. We have a war to win. But first I must remove that parasite from you. Violet flame pulsed from his hand and seared into Cinder's chest. She frowned, not quite understanding. And then? Then, there was pain. This was the best day of Amber's life. There was no fear here, no negativity, no stress, no tea moment. The cafeteria was caught in the throes of a glorious food fight. Benches were turned into blockades. Food flew like missiles. Every piece of cuisine was a weapon. Every confectionery treat a sugar bomb just waiting to go off. Amber reveled in it, diving into the glorious chaos that came with it. It was good. It was freeing. It was a maddened mess as only Beacon could ever be. For the first time in a long time she felt free again, with no fear, no stress, no worries at all. Then, quite suddenly, Amber's world changed. Duck. Credit where it was due, the Fall Maiden obeyed Naruto's spectral shout without question. She abandoned her battle with a certain redhead and dove to the floor. She had never been the intended target. Something or someone shot past her and struck Ruby Rose head-on, gripped her by the throat and smashed her against the nearest wall. She cried out and the world went still, laughter and shrieks withering away like dead flowers in winter. Everything was happening too fast. Amber had just enough time to glimpse a man in white to hear Naruto hiss, before all hell broke loose. Ruby! Yawn was the closes. She dove for her sister. A crushing backhand sent her spinning into her teammates, sending them sprawling. Only then did the cruel weight of reality come crashing down on the students. No one had their weapons. Why would they? This was a cafeteria, not an armory. Beacon was meant to be safe, secure. Quiet suddenly it wasn't. Don't mind me, children. The lunatic tittered like a broken music box. I'll be just a moment. A frantic Amber conjured a spear of fire to her hands. She knew it wouldn't be fast enough. An eye for an eye. The madman cackled with delirious glee. Goodbye. His swinger swept forward at Ruby's face. Someone hacked it off. Not a Gaithin. A white scythe of pure light materialized beside the screaming faunus, lanced through his tail and swept him down to the floor. In the same instant Ruby drew her knees into her chest, slammed them forward, planted her feet against his stomach and vanished in a swirl of red petals. Deprived of his prey and left writhing on the ground by the sudden attack, he never saw the boot coming. A cloaked figure smashed their heel into his chin like a jackhammer. The result was nothing short of spectacular. Tyrian scarcely had time to gasp before he shot backwards. His spine struck a table and aura cracked. Momentum dragged him over it, and threw the food there, sending him cartwheeling through the air. He was still spinning when a cloak's shape manifested before him. A fresh boot smashed into his face. Masonry yielded with a crunch as he slammed through a stone wall, leaving a decidedly Tyrian-shaped impression behind. Tyrian Kalos. An unfamiliar voice snarled, "You are guilty of laying a hand on my youngest daughter." Ruby inhaled sharply. The penalty is death. Her savior skipped lightly forward, a spring in every step. Dark hair tipped blood-red framed an angelic face from which eyes of purest silver burned. Literally, her gaze seared with holy tongues of flame at the edge, not unlike that of a maiden, yet more, somehow. A lovely white cloak bearing a red interior sheathed her body, fluttering in the wind to reveal a strange black dress and matching combat boots. Then there was the matter of her weapon. It wasn't a weapon at all, more a part of herself than anything else. A scythe forced of purest radiance, larger than she was tall, just the sort Death herself might wield if Death were a resplendent avatar of light. Shining sparks of silver danced down its curved edge, flowing across the floor like gleaming embers. Said scythe swung towards Amber, rooting her where she stood. So you're the one I have to kill. That odd, eerie smile never left the stranger's face. Be a dear and stay there, will you? I'll deal with you in a minute, she swallowed. Who are? Nope. Nope. Would you just let me? Nope. The newcomer sang. Amber felt her right eye twitch. This is going to be a thing with you, isn't it? Silver eyes danced with mirth. Yup, thankfully. Tyrian Kalos came howling through a window, sparing them the indignity of a reply. You witch! He howled as he slammed into her, his impact dragging them through the mess hall. I killed you! Yeah, about that. I got better. Tyrian gurgled as a familiar hand closed around his windpipe, wrested him away and slammed him down into the food-encrusted floor. Not so nice when you're the one being ambushed, is it? Well, that's not fair. He croaked out, legs kicking out against the stone. Not fair at all. My goddess killed you. You shouldn't be here, and you tried to kill my baby. Silver eyes regarded him balefully. Sorry, bug boy. I don't give a flying duck. Tyrian blinked. Duck? Can't swear. She wrinkled her nose. Curse won't let me. Sides, there are kids around, you know? Let's keep this PG, yeah? Behind them, Ruby Rose rebooted and fell to her knees. A trembling hand reached out. And Mommy? Is that you? Oops. Summer Rose turned her head and flashed her daughter a winning smile over her shoulder. Stay right there, sweetie. I'll be with you in just a minute. Well, this is fascinating and all, but Naruto winced. Shouldn't we, I dunno, do something? Nah. Amber waved him down. She's got this. A horrifying crunch seconded her. Tyrian did not die well. What if Naruto saves Amber in RWBY? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.